the magician in the world of Doraemon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376. The show continues. At this moment, someone knocked on the door downstairs, and everyone's nerves, which had just relaxed, instantly tensed up again. Yu and Daisuke and Emushin released the induction technique and saw that there was a human being below, so they were relieved. There is only one person below, a human. It should be Zhao you mentioned. Go and open the door for him. Shizuka agreed and immediately ran out of the room, bringing the panting Zhao up. Seeing the two corpses sitting up, this guy didn't react for a while. You kid, didn't you stop breathing? How did you suddenly sit up? Did my necromancy take effect? Just now, Zhao was nervous and blurted out what was in his heart. Yu and Daisuke coughed. Just now, because I was observing the future, I fell into a state of suspended animation. This was told to him by the soul-devouring monument. After all, he couldn't know by himself whether he was really suspended animation. The others nodded, indicating that they understood the matter. Zhao then handed Lee Zinai a bag. I have been looking for the yellow paper and cinnabar you mentioned for a long time, and finally found it in a junk store. These things for drawing talismans are very precious to him, but to the monster, they are really no different from rags. Lee Zinai took the bag. Thank you, Zhao, but unfortunately I have nothing to thank you with. Hearing that the child wanted to thank him, Zhao quickly waved his hand to indicate that he refused. Forget it. When I help children, it's all free. Lee Zinai happily took the stack of yellow paper and cinnabar and prepared to go to the next room to draw talismans. The final battle will be held soon, and he must prepare for the upcoming battle. But Yu and Daisuke suddenly stretched out his hand to stop him. Don't rush to leave, listen to me first. Lee Zinai had to go back to his seat obediently and listen to Yu and Daisuke's explanation of what was going to happen next. No one else needs to participate in the battle with the monsters tomorrow. Junfei and I are enough. What? They were shocked by Yu and Daisuke's words and felt that he was a bit reckless in this matter. Why? You obviously know how powerful the Black Shadow on the throne is. Why don't you want us to go? Yu and Daisuke looked at them deeply. It's because he is too strong, so I don't want you to go. Think about it. Junfei and I worked together to block one knife, and the few of you together are not enough to stop him from chopping it in one go. So we don't need too many people to go this time. Just the two of us will be enough, and Nobita and the others will help us then. Lee Zinai and Shizuka were still a little unconvinced. Why? Those ordinary people can participate in the decisive battle. Why can't we go? Because they will no longer be ordinary people by tomorrow. You don't have to worry. Then he paused and continued. If what I see in the future is correct, then our chances of winning are more than 70%, but there is still a possibility of failure. And what you have to do is to defend this land and don't let the monsters occupy Nobita's room. If we really fail, then that is a last way out. Do you understand? Seeing that the task that Yu and Daisuke said seemed to be not easy, they were no longer willful and nodded in agreement. At 8:30 the next morning, everyone was ready to go to school and conduct today's rehearsal as usual. As for Zhao, he found an opportunity to leave last night. After all, he and Yu and Daisuke were not on the same side now. As soon as the group went out, the bats in the sky began to move closer. There were 4 people here, and the fragrance of so many people could be transmitted to a far distance. For monsters, human flesh is a delicacy they can never resist, especially children like them. Chumushin looked at the nearby bats and frowned. What a troublesome thing. As he said, he wanted to kill these bats with his mental power, but Yu and Daisuke stopped him. Don't waste your energy in this place, you will be busy in the next time. Then Yu and Daisuke used a little magic power to build a barrier around to isolate their smell. These bloodthirsty bats could not smell the human scent, hovered in the air for a while, and then dispersed by themselves. Let's go to school first. Yu and Daisuke waved in front, motioning everyone to follow. Izumishin walked at the end of the group and looked up at the dark sky. I really hope this is a nightmare. As long as I wake up, the world will be the same as before. Then he chuckled and shook his head to throw away this impossible idea. Gian and Dazi couldn't help sniffing in front, and then frowned. The fog of demon puppets is getting thicker and thicker now. Many people should have become demons, right? However, there are usually not many people on Saturday mornings. Although it is impossible to observe the affairs of the demon clan, it also avoids unnecessary trouble. When I arrived at the school, the big clock on the roof had been replaced by a demon head statue, and the walls were much more dilapidated. Because of these changes, the atmosphere of the entire teaching building is now completely different from before. If there was still some sunshine and warm atmosphere before, now it looks like a long abandoned Shura field, opening its mouth wide and waiting for people to take the initiative to enter this hell. When they arrived in front of the teaching building, everyone looked at the moss on the wall and fell silent. I never thought that this place would become like a demon cave after just one night. Yu and Dazi crushed the moss on the door and led everyone into the teaching building. Because today was not a working day, the lights on the school floors were not turned on, making the place look even more gloomy. He came to his class, used his mental power to tidy up the things here, and found a place to sit and wait for them. Soon, Nobita and the others also came here, and everyone was present. Yu and Dazi stood up and said, "Since everyone is here, let's start." Zyashin took out the script and performed the first 3 scenes according to it. But when it came to the last scene, which was the battle with the Bull Demon King, the script changed. Now the Bull Demon King and his wife are on stage, and Sun Wukong will offer Tang Monk to the Bull Demon King. When he read this, Yu and Dazi gave Lee Zinayu and the others a look and asked them to act according to the plan. The couple came to the stage. "Come on, Sun Wukong, bring Tang Monk here, let us enjoy it together." Next, Shizuka came on stage and let Mushin offer her to Shizuka. Nobita finally realized that something was wrong and quickly pulled Shizuka off the stage. Chapter 377 Angry Minotaur. No, how can a monster eat Tang Samzang? This script is obviously wrong. Nobita used his body to protect Shizuka behind him, preventing the two people from hurting her. On the stage, Kirisuka tried his best to play his role to the extreme. "Stop it, it's written in the script. Do you want to create a script yourself?" As he said that, he took off his mask, and just his eyes made them feel threatened. Nobita took a half step back guiltily, and then quickly stood still. Now Shizuka was behind him. He couldn't retreat. "You are the one who should stop it, okay? How could the monsters defeat the human race? It must be wrong in the script." Princess Ironfan, played by Lee Zinayu, also stepped forward. In Journey to the West, the evil Tang Samzang was eaten. Isn't that a very normal thing? Nobita was overwhelmed by the spiritual pressure of the two, but still stood in front of Shizuka. Fat Tiger also came up to speak for them. "How is it possible? How can monsters defeat humans? You idiot, stop talking nonsense." Hearing that Fat Tiger dared to scold him, Shizuka was also unhappy, and the black mist gradually began to emerge. "Why, do you want to fight with me? Then come on." The angry expression, coupled with the looming black mist, now Shizuka is more like a monster than those ordinary monsters. Seeing Shizuka's terrifying state, Fat Tiger and the others were frightened, and their faces turned pale, and their legs kept shaking underneath. In fact, Fat Tiger didn't want to scold people just now. He usually doesn't say swear words for no reason. He just says "I'm your uncle" occasionally. But Shizuka gave him too much pressure just now, so he couldn't help but say it out. Of course, this is not to irritate the opponent, but to cheer himself up by belittling the opponent. The atmosphere on the field began to be filled with gunpowder, and Shizuka was like a bomb that was about to explode. Seeing that he was a little out of control, Yu and Dazi tried to ease the atmosphere. "In fact, I also think that the Bull Demon King should not eat Tang Monk." Nobita and the others looked at Dazi with moved eyes, as if they saw a savior. "Yes, I also think that the demon race should not defeat the human race. This is the correct history." Mushin also announced his own side. This time he would stand with Nobita and the others. Seeing that these two people supported them, Nobita and the others regained their confidence. So Nobita pointed to Shizuka. "Yes, we all say that the human race is right, so you are wrong." Shizuka's eyes condensed, and the next step was the key step in the plan, given by Yu and Azuki. Just when he was about to show off his clothes, a man suddenly walked in from outside and greeted them with a smile. "Hey, everyone is here. The teacher is very interested in your rehearsal, so I came to take a look." The teacher walked into the classroom and looked at the young actors in the classroom with a smile. "How is the rehearsal going now? There shouldn't be anyone deliberately making trouble, right?" Everyone present became nervous. After all, the timing of this guy's appearance was not very good, and this step was not in the plan given by Yu and Azuki. The classroom suddenly became quiet, and people on both sides were thinking about how to communicate with him. Yu and Azuki frowned. In the original book, the teacher did come over once. But today is Saturday, so he thought the teacher would not come, and did not count this person. Shizuka and Lisa Nai were at a loss because of this change, and they were stunned on the stage. As for Nobita and the others, they were frightened by the momentum of the teacher's appearance, and could not even speak. The teacher looked at them strangely when he saw the quiet scene. "What's wrong with you? Why did you stop talking when I came in?" And as his brows soon relaxed, and he used his mental power to transmit his voice to Shizuka. He immediately understood, pointed at Nobita, and began to pour all the things on them. "Teacher, just now they said that Tang Monk won the journey to the west, and then they didn't cooperate with our performance." Nobita and his friends were shocked instantly. "Why are you only talking about us? Aren't there two people standing over there?" After a few exchanges, Dekisugi and Yu and Azuki silently moved a few steps to the side and drew a clear line between themselves and Nobita. When the teacher saw these people gathering together to make trouble, he was immediately unhappy. "It's a good rehearsal. Do you guys have to make some trouble for me to be happy?" But Nobita thought it was just a joke, so he stepped forward and prepared for the teacher to defend himself. "That's not the case. We are just saying that the journey to the west, where Master Sanzang is going to be eaten. Isn't that strange?" Fat Tiger also nodded in agreement. "Yes, they are just some monsters. How can they defeat humans?" At this point, the soul-devouring monument in Yu and Azuki's sea of consciousness suddenly rose up, and a spiritual force went straight to Fat Tiger's life. Not good. Yu and Azuki quickly released his spiritual power to block the power of the soul-devouring monument. However, because the soul-devouring monument suddenly rose up and attacked, it failed to control the power and poked a hole in the barrier set up by Yu and Azuki's spiritual power. He immediately felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness, and he almost couldn't help but scream. However, only the spiritual power was damaged a little. It was not considered an injury, and the problem was not big. After finally recovering from the pain, Yu and Azuki asked Lingfeng, "What's wrong? Soul-devouring monument? Why do you suddenly want to kill him?" Soul-devouring monument was silent for a while before saying, "I just remembered some old things and lost my composure." After that, old man Ling once again returned to the depths of his sea of consciousness and stopped talking. Although he blocked the attack from this side, Yu and Azuki did not intend to block the teacher's anger. The teacher's body began to grow wildly, and brown hair emerged from his body. In an instant, he turned into a bull-headed man with a height of 2.5 meters. "You guys dare to laugh at the great demon race? Could it be you are human?" After saying that, the teacher slapped the floor with a slap, breaking the wooden floor into pieces. Yu and Azuki glanced at him and silently estimated to break a 6 cm thick wooden board with bare hands. Judging from the ease, it takes about half a bull's strength. Is this his limit? Dakshin and the others were so scared that they couldn't take care of themselves and left the classroom screaming. After walking a few steps, the teacher gave up the idea of chasing and returned to the classroom. His height slowly returned to human form, and he walked to our side to comfort them. "Sorry, the teacher just lost his mind. Everyone please don't mind it. Now you guys go back first." Then the teacher pointed in the direction where those people left and said, "I will call their parents to explain the situation about them later. These people deliberately made trouble in the performance and dared to despise us monsters. I will definitely let their parents teach them a lesson." Everyone looked at Yu and Azuki. Now everything was decided by him. And he nodded. "Okay, teacher, we will go back now. Take care of yourself and don't let them get angry." Then Yu and Azuki led a group of people out of the classroom and walked slowly towards Nobita's home. The teacher smiled and nodded. If the students were so well behaved, then life would be so wonderful. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378 Task Assignment. After leaving the school, Shizuka finally couldn't help asking, "What is your purpose in doing this?" Lisa and I also walked to Yu and Daisuke. "Yes, and how did they change the world?" After hearing the questions of the two people, Yu and Daisuke stopped to explain to them. The reason is very simple. Doraemon and the others went back to the past through the time machine and released the Bull Demon King in the game console, so the world changed. Then he took out the script again. "Look, this is the script we used yesterday." The three of them took the script, put it in their hands and carefully looked at every scene, and found that the script was actually changed. The two immediately turned their heads and looked at Dekisugi. "Did you change the script yesterday? Why didn't we know?" Zion immediately shook his head frantically. This pot was not his, and he must not take it. Yu and Daisuke took the script back. "This is the proof that they changed the past." He put the script in his hand and raised it casually, and flames came out of his hand, swallowing up the paper. When the world changes, even if he himself has not changed, the script he wrote will naturally change. "Do you understand?" He explained it clearly, but Shizuka still had some questions. "Then why do you want us to scare them? Why not just explain the situation to them directly?" Yu and Daisuke nodded. "It's true that we can tell them the facts, but I think it's also good to follow my ideas." Then he raised his fingers and counted the benefits of doing so for everyone. "First, we can rehearse the drama by the way, since the first few scenes haven't changed anyway. Second, this makes them realize that the world has changed, which is more effective than telling them directly. Third, seeing their frightened expressions can make me feel a little happy in my boring life." The others wiped the sweat off their sweat silently. "So the third point is the most important to you, right?" After finally accepting this setting, Izuki asked him, "So, what should we do now to find your plan?" Now that Nobita and Doraemon have noticed that something is wrong, they will definitely go to find the source of the change. And they will definitely see the land covered by black fog in the center of Tokyo. By then, they should know exactly what they should do now. So we just need to wait in Nobita's room, wait for them to come back, and go back with him. Izuki nodded, and their actions in this part were already clear. "Then what should we do?" Shizuka and Lizunai looked at him with a hint of expectation. "You two stay near Nobita's house, and make sure to prevent other monsters from approaching there. If you fail, we will definitely come back from there, and we should be powerless at that time." The two heard their own arrangements, and suddenly felt bored. They couldn't go to the front line. Then Yu and Daisuke became serious, "And if we can't come back, the matter of revenge for everyone will be left to you. Leave it to us?" The two looked at each other in surprise. They didn't expect him to say that. That's right. After the demons became rampant, negative emotions became very abundant, and Shizuka's strength will increase quickly. Then Yu and Daisuke pointed to Lizunai, "And I believe in the power of the Zuenling sword. You will definitely be able to exert its power. The strength of both of you is in a period of rapid growth. I believe you will have the opportunity to avenge us in the near future." Shizuka and Lizunai nodded solemnly. "No problem. We promise to complete the task." After persuading the two, Yu and Daisuke took out 2 stones, which were the fragments left after the magic wand was broken. Iron Emission will put a little bit of the fire of life on it. If we die, the flame will go out, and the rest will be left to you. Zion looked at the stone, and was a little worried. "Your magic wand is broken. It will have a great impact on your combat effectiveness, right?" "Don't worry, the magic wand has already reached the end of its help to me. It doesn't make much difference whether it is there or not." Then he suddenly became mysterious, and in the future I found a new magic wand. At this time, Nobita had returned home and quietly came to the second floor without disturbing his mother. After opening the door, Nobita immediately ran to Doraemon, wanting to explain what happened today. "You don't have to tell me, I know everything. Something is not right, right?" Doraemon looked at the dark clouds in the sky with a gloomy face, and also found the changes in the world. In fact, he felt something was wrong last night, but he didn't tell Nobita because he was angry with him. How is your school? Has anything strange happened? Nobita nodded. Yes, except for a few of us. It seems that everyone else has turned into a monster. And Shizuka also said that the world started to become strange after we entered the game console. Doraemon touched his head. You mean when you were playing the game yesterday afternoon? What happened? Yesterday afternoon, we entered the game, but we didn't even encounter a monster, and then we passed the level. After listening to Nobita's words, Doraemon had roughly guessed what the whole thing was. So he took out the bamboo dragonfly. In that case, let's go and see what's happening outside. Nobita nodded, put on the bamboo dragonfly, and flew out of the window with Doraemon to investigate the source of the evil spirit. In the air, Doraemon kept observing the ground below. There were almost no pedestrians on the street. In contrast, the shadows of the trees and houses were full of bats, but they were just in their blind spot. The blue fat man took a deep breath, suddenly coughed twice, and rubbed his nose. At first glance, it's no different from usual, but I always feel that there is a strange smell in the air. Nobita also sniffed hard, and nodded in agreement. Yes, and there are too few people on the street. Today is Saturday. While communicating about what was unusual, the two followed the wind direction and began to move closer to the center of Tokyo. Just when Doraemon was still observing the area below, Nobita suddenly grabbed his hand and said, "Doraemon, look over there. Have we ever had this thing in Tokyo?" He also retracted his gaze and looked in the direction Nobita pointed. A palace covered by black fog and flames appeared in front of him. Seeing this tower, Doraemon understood everything. This was definitely the trouble they had caused by going back to the past. The changes in the world should all be caused by this tower. Nobita, what is the sequel to your rehearsal of Journey to the West? The sequel became very strange. Master Sanzang was actually eaten by the Bull Demon King, and the teacher actually said that this was correct. Doraemon nodded. Then my guess is correct. When everyone went back to the past yesterday, everything had changed. Just when they wanted to continue discussing, a strange sound suddenly came from all around. The two looked towards the source of the sound, and behind them was a dark mass of bats with fangs exposed. Chapter 379, Constant Fright. Nobita was frightened by the scene, and stood in the air, not knowing what he should do now. Seeing this, Doraemon had to run behind Nobita, and pushed him away. Don't stand there, Nobita, hurry up and run for your life. Do you want to die here? He finally came to his senses, after being yelled at, and controlled the bamboo dragonfly to fly forward. The two were chased by bats, and came all the way to a nearby park, and found a hidden place to hide. Nobita stretched his head and looked back. The bats seemed to know their location and still flew towards here. He quickly turned back to look at Doraemon. Oh no, they are still chasing us. Think of a way for me. The blue fat man has already started to dig into his pocket. Don't rush me. I will be so nervous that I can't take anything out if you rush me. Nobita stretched his head and looked forward again. The bats were getting closer and closer to them, and Doraemon still couldn't find a way to deal with it. Strange. I remember clearly there was that prop. Where is it? I found it. The blue fat man took out a gun with a strange shape from his pocket, and the bullets of this gun turned out to be umbrella ribs. He didn't have time to explain the use of the props to Nobita, and he fired several shots directly at the bats in the sky. The ribs of the umbrella fell into the group of bats and opened automatically. The surrounding bats fell on the umbrella, as if they were pulled by the ribs, and gradually began to change their shapes. Soon, all the bats in the sky disappeared, and were replaced by several large black umbrellas. Doraemon quickly put the gun back. The effect of this thing can last for half an hour, which is enough for us to leave here. Then they stopped talking nonsense and immediately controlled the bamboo dragonfly to take off and fly towards their home. It was really a close call. I was almost sucked dry by these bats. Nobita recalled what happened just now, still with lingering fears. But why do these bats suddenly want to attack us? There are so many people around here. Doraemon thought for a moment and suddenly said, can these bats tell whether we are human or monster? Bats are the incarnation of black mist, so they can naturally distinguish between humans and monsters, which is why they attacked them. If that's the case, those people will also be in danger. Let's go and pick them up. Doraemon immediately thought of this layer and then took Nobita to fly to Shizuka's house. At this time, Shizuka's mother received a call from the teacher and learned what happened in the classroom just now. After hanging up the phone, the mother turned around and looked at Shizuka, and horns gradually grew on her head. How can you say that, child? How can we monsters lose to humans? No, you are not my mother. Looking at the transformed mother, Shizuka was scared and ran away from the house screaming. Oh, did I do something too much to scare the child like this? The mother looked at Shizuka's back as she walked away and gradually turned back into human form, feeling a little regretful. Although she has become a monster, her love for children has not diminished in the slightest. Why don't I make her something delicious and apologize to her when she comes back? Shizuka's mother clapped her hands and made her own decision. By the way, she has to apologize to the teacher and make her realize her mistake. Then Shizuka's mother went back to her room to change her clothes, took the basket, and went out to buy groceries. On the way to Shizuka's house, Nobita and Doraemon happened to meet Shizuka, who had escaped from the house. Nobita quickly grabbed Doraemon. Doraemon, look, isn't that Shizuka? How did she run out of the door? The blue fat man shook his head. I don't know, maybe because she saw something scary? As the two talked, they controlled the bamboo dragonfly to fly in front of Shizuka and landed. At this time, her attention was all behind her, and she didn't expect that two people suddenly fell in front of her, which scared her. But when she saw who was in front of her, she sat down on the ground. Great, it's you. I thought I was dead just now. Now is not the time to talk about this. We already know the cause of the incident. Now we have to go back to the past and change everything. Doraemon interrupted what Shizuka wanted to say next, and then Nobita pulled her towards his home. We will send you to our home first, and then we will go to find Fat Tiger and Sunia. They are also in danger. Shizuka nodded and did not try to break free from Nobita's hand. Now this seemingly weak arm gave her a sense of security. The three ran to Nobita's door. This time they were lucky not to encounter bats and other monsters, and arrived at their destination safely. However, at this moment, Doraemon suddenly stopped and stopped the two people who were about to enter the door. Wait a minute, someone seems to be watching us here, be careful. After reminding them, the two people behind became a little uneasy. Could it be that the monster tribe has come to the door? Hey, you guys, you were scared out of your house by your own mother, right? The sudden voice behind them made everyone's heart shrink suddenly, almost frightened them to death. Several people turned their heads and looked behind them and found that Fat Tiger and Sunia were in the bushes, waving at them. Doraemon was relieved. Don't scare people here, okay? This is very dangerous. The two walked out of the bushes. We can't do anything. People nearby seem to have become very strange. This is the only place to hide. Nobita waved to them to follow. Forget it. Now is not the time to talk about this. Let's get in quickly. By the way, don't disturb my mother. The group of people tiptoed to open the door and walked into the room without making any sound. Nobita walked to the front, quietly glanced at his mother in the living room, and waved to everyone to indicate that it was safe. The people behind received the signal, carefully passed through the door, and came to Nobita's room on the second floor. Nobita had just opened the door, and the scene inside almost made him scream, and he quickly covered his mouth with his hands. At this time, Yu and Azi and Deku-chan were drinking black tea leisurely in the room, in Nobita's room. Just now they had detected that Sunia and the others were hiding in the bushes, and only now, all the people were finally gathered. Doraemon stretched out his hand to take out the props, and the others also entered a state of combat readiness. These people did not go back to the past, and logically they had become monsters, so they should be their enemies. Ian and as he put down the teacup, you guys are finally back. We have been waiting for a long time. A group of people slowly walked in from outside, holding things like shotguns in their hands. Nobita raised the gun and pointed it at them. Why did you two come here? What is your purpose? Chapter 380 Game Characters. Others also took out props such as air cannons and Superman gloves, all aimed at the two people inside. Yu and as he put down his teacup, calm down. We just broke into a private house, which is nothing compared to what you did. D-Mushin also put down his teacup. stood up and looked at the group of people who were on full alert against them. "Don't worry, we are not enemies. We just want to work with you to restore the past to its original state." They looked at each other, slowly put down their weapons, and chose to believe the two people. "That means you two didn't become monsters? But this is not scientific." The Riemann still had doubts about their identities, but still asked. After drinking the tea, Yu and Daisy asked back, "Then why didn't you talk about science with the sun god when you went to the Mayan kingdom?" This sentence choked the Riemann. After all, there are many things in the world that cannot be explained by science. Finally, he nodded. "Okay, I agree that you will join this action. Now let's discuss the battle plan." The others also agreed to this matter, and sat down around the tea tray in the middle. The Riemann spoke first. "I think everyone has noticed that our history has changed. Nobita, Yu and Eiji and Dekisugi had known about this for a long time, so they didn't react much. But the other three reacted a little too much. After all, they didn't expect it to be so serious. We used a time machine to go back to the past yesterday. Nobita wanted to show you Son Goku, so we turned on the hero game console." At this point, the Riemann took out the game console and explained the cause of the incident. After Son Goku left, the monsters should have left as well. And since then, the past should have been completely changed. After knowing the cause of the incident, everyone also understood that they should be responsible for the changed history. This is not only for atonement, but also for their parents and friends to be able to return to their original state. Fat Tiger was the first to stand up. "I know, so what should we do now?" Others also raised their hands. "Please let us also contribute." Seeing that everyone was so active, the Riemann was relieved. "Now we have to go back to the Tang dynasty and catch all the monsters that have escaped, and the world will return to its original state." Then the Riemann pointed to the machine. "No need to fight, just use this thing to recycle them when the time comes." Although the Riemann said it easily, everyone still had no confidence in it. "Even if you say so, we can't directly confront those monsters that can conquer the world." Fat Tiger expressed his concern. After all, the opponent is not a human, and may be more powerful than the wizard Letina who met last time. After all, Letina did not dare to confront the Empire head-on, and could only quietly curse from the back. "It's okay." The Riemann pointed to the hero game machine again. "Wouldn't it be better if we become characters in Journey to the West?" Fat Tiger and Sunir opened their mouths to say something, but still held back their words. After all, their characters are pig monsters and riv monsters, neither of which are likable characters. But for safety reasons, if they don't get some power, they will die without knowing how they died. Zyadishan looked at Daisy who was drinking tea next to him. So far, everything he said is exactly the same. Yu and Daisy poured himself another cup of tea. He was very curious about what would happen next and who would be the role he would get. The Riemann played the tape of Journey to the West, and then everyone entered the game one by one. "The system will now randomly match your roles. Please be patient." A cold electronic voice appeared above everyone's head, and then a series of lights shone on everyone. Soon, the most suitable roles for everyone were selected by the machine and they were dressed up. "Yeah, great. I said I was the most suitable to play Sun Wukong, but you still didn't believe it. Haha." Nobita just deliberately stood with Zyashin, and Nobita was still chosen to be Sun Wukong, which made him very happy. Fat Tiger and Sunir looked at their costumes and sighed. As expected, they were Zhu Beiji and Shabujing again, which really disappointed them. And Shizuka was still the same as before, appearing as the kindest Tang monk, and the pink monk robe suited her very well. As for the new member Demishin, he was selected as the white dragon horse, and was given a spear that looked like silver. Unfortunately, he was a swordsman who practiced swordsmanship, so it didn't make much difference to him whether he had this thing or not. Then everyone looked at Yu and Daisy next to him, and all of them opened their mouths in surprise. "Why is your style so different from ours?" Everyone made incredible noises, and it was hard to imagine his role. Yu and Daisy looked at the extra white robe on his body and the jade bottle in his hand, and was also a little unbelievable. "Huh. I was actually chosen to be Guanain? This machine is really accurate." But the appearance of this role was not the most surprising thing for him. What he didn't expect was that this set of clothes could really provide him with a bonus of strength. He carefully felt the state of his body. Putting on this clothes, my magic power increased by about 10%, which is a huge increase. Then Yu and Dazi used the induction technique to scan each of them and found that the clothes provided them with a certain amount of power instead of being just decorations except for Sun Wukong. Nobita's strength increased by about 5 times, but he was still a weak chicken in his eyes. There is no need to say much about the role of the golden hoop and the somersault cloud. It is basically the most luxurious set. ZHU Beij's suit provides Fat Tiger with about 4 times the strength increase. He should be the strongest one except for the 2 new members. And the 9-tooth Drake is not for fun. If you want to use it to comb your hair in the middle, it may comb your scalp off. There are also earth attribute magic fluctuations on the clothes, which should be able to cast spells such as burrowing. The sand monk suit provides a 3-fold strength increase. It can be said that he is the weakest among the 3 warriors, but he seems to be the most flexible. Coupled with the water attribute fluctuations on the clothes, it can also be regarded as a fighting force. As for Shizuka's Tang monk, the light attribute fluctuations on his body are very obvious. He is probably a priest who is also a magician. After Xiaodishan turned into a little white dragon, his strength increased by 3 times, and with the defense of the armor, he is finally not a fragile skin. Just when everyone was still entangled in Yu and Dazi was Guanyin Bodhisattva, Doraemon began to urge, "Hurry up, everyone, Mom seems to have found something wrong." The group hurriedly flew out of the hole in the sky, and Doraemon put away the props. Then everyone sat in the time machine in the drawer before their mother arrived at the battlefield. Chapter 381 Back to the past again. Nobita's mother opened the door, and now there was no one in the room. Is there no one inside? I just heard some noise. It's really strange. She touched her head in confusion. I was going to ask him to go out and buy something for me. This kid is really something. Then she walked out of the room, closed the door, and went to buy the ingredients for dinner. After she left, Shizuka and Lee Zinai jumped in from the window and sat in the middle of the room. Next, they will stay here until Yu and Dazi and the others come back. When everyone got on the time machine, they finally breathed a sigh of relief and avoided a direct conflict with Nobita's mother. Go to the place where history has been changed. We can stop them directly there. Doraemon ordered the time machine installed with a voice assistant to lead it forward. But the time machine refused this request. I have no history that has been changed. Please set the time manually. Seeing that the voice assistant had no way, Doraemon covered his head helplessly. He didn't remember how long he had been there before. After all, it was all random. And at that time he didn't even ask how long it was, so it was impossible to tell the exact value. It shouldn't have changed too much. Can't you think of a way for me? No, once history is changed, the data I have stored will be completely invalid. This is the first time travel. The blue fat man turned off the voice assistant helplessly. He was too lazy to listen to this thing nagging. After traveling in the long river of time for a few more minutes, everyone was already impatient. Hey Doraemon, haven't we reached the era of Master Sanzang yet? It's been so long. Doraemon looked at the data disk, but because of the changes in history, even the era could not be stabilized. It seems that it is impossible to determine the exact time by conventional means. By the way, I forgot that there is this thing, the danger alarm. He took out a humanoid doll wearing a police uniform and holding a whistle from his pocket and put it on the time machine. Just use this thing when we encounter danger, such as when monsters come. It will remind us. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, the danger alarm blew his whistle. The blue fat man was stunned for a moment, then pulled the handbrake of the time machine. Quick, everyone, get out. A hole appeared on the wall of the time tunnel, and everyone jumped out from there. After everyone came out, Doraemon put the time machine back into his pocket. Now the known history is unreliable, and the time machine cannot be left outside casually. When everyone came out, the first thing they saw was the peaks on both sides, and they were standing on a path on the cliff. The blue fat man used his own radar to scan the terrain. According to the terrain here, it should be the Xianshan Mountains of the Celestial Empire. Fat Tiger looked at the stones around here in confusion, always feeling that what Doraemon said was a little unreliable. Just these things, how can you be sure that this is the Celestial Empire? or such a detailed place as the Shianshan Mountains. Then the blue fat man reached into his pocket again, took out the translation konjac that everyone is familiar with, tore it into small pieces, and handed it to everyone. Anyway, this is no longer Japan. Everyone cheer up and solve the language problem first. A large piece of translation konjac was torn into 6 pieces by him, and when it was Yu and Daz's turn, it was suddenly gone. I'm so sorry, I just ran out of translation konjac, so I'll have to inconvenience you now. Yu and Daz, he looked at his empty palm and reluctantly took back his hand. Forget it, I happen to know a little about the Chinese language, and it doesn't make much difference whether I use this translation konjac or not. Everyone ate the konjac and tried to speak, thank you, hello. Yu and Daz, he helplessly picked his ears. The Chinese language these people spoke was really bad. Even with the translation konjac, it couldn't save their accents. Just when everyone was immersed in the joy of being able to speak foreign languages, the ground suddenly shook, and then countless gravel fell from the sky. Not good. Yu and Daz, he was the first to react. Everyone, go to the gap in front, it's safer there. After hearing his words, the others also woke up from the shock, and hurried to the crack in front. There is a rock wall above here, so there is no need to worry about the rocks from the sky falling and hitting their heads. Everyone hid here and squatted with their heads covered, and finally they didn't have to worry about their lives. Just as they settled down, Shizuka suddenly pointed down and said, look, aren't those the monk Sanzang and his men over there? The group looked down at the people and horses running, and at the blonde and blue-eyed little boy holding the reins in front. There were many times when the stones were about to hit the head of the monk Sanzang, but the little boy used his magic power to quietly push him, and narrowly avoided it. In this way, the monk Sanzang hid in a cave without any obstacles, and then he was considered safe. At this time, Yu and Daz, he suddenly pointed upwards. Look there, they are the ones who did this. Everyone looked up and saw that there were all half-human bats above, throwing stones crazily. During this time, they were still laughing crazily above, which sounded very harsh. Doraemon looked serious. Everyone listen, now is the time to go and collect them. Get ready. Hey, now. Nobita stopped him immediately. Don't be ridiculous. How can we beat them? Doraemon was stunned for a moment, then smiled embarrassedly. I forgot to tell you that you now have the skills in the game. Nobita slapped his head. Yes, I tried it before, but I forgot it all at this time. After remembering this, he walked to the edge of the cliff and shouted loudly, somersault cloud. A white cloud came from afar and flew to Nobita's feet. It was the somersault cloud in mythology that could travel 108,000 miles with one somersault. Nobita stood on it and flew up against the huge rocks falling from the sky, ready to clean up the monsters on the cliff. Doraemon took out a few bamboo dragonflies from his pocket and handed them to everyone, asking them to go up for support. Zhu Beiji and Monk Sha put on bamboo dragonflies and flew up with Doraemon. Tang Seng, White Dragon Horse and Guanyin have the ability to fly, so they don't need it. You two go up there to provide support. I'll go down there to see what's going on with Master Sanzang. After Shizuka said goodbye to them, a large number of petals suddenly appeared on her body, and she slowly flew to where Master Sanzang was below. Ah, I didn't expect Shizuka's suit to have this effect. It actually looks pretty good when she releases her skills. Yu and Daz, he compared it with the trio above. The difference in visual effects is still so big. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but sigh. No wonder Tang Sanzang can become their master. It seems that her cultivation is not shallow. Chapter 382. Xiaoshan patted Dazzy, who was still sighing. Stop talking, let's go up quickly. Then he turned into a dragon and began to fly up along the stone wall. Seeing that everyone had taken action, Yu and Dazzy also waved his hand and called his own platform the 9-rank Lotus platform. I didn't expect there would be a mount. He stood on it happily. It seems that I, a bodhisattva, still have some face. Haha. Riding on the Lotus platform, Yu and Dazzy also began to chase the backs of the 5 people above. At this time, Junjio and Yunjio were sitting on the platform above, waiting for good news from their men. Brother, what do you think the king will reward us if we capture Tang Sanzang this time? Yunjio's eyes were filled with expectation. He really wanted to know what benefits he would get. The golden horn shook his head. Forget it. Don't forget that we are still guilty. At most we can make up for our mistakes. Then it raised its hand. In addition, the king has given us the power of demons, which makes us stronger than before. This is already a great gift from heaven. I know. Can't I just look forward to it? What if the king has other rewards? Then he yawned. Little ones, why haven't you received good news yet? It's too slow. The bat demon turned around and reported, oh no, Lord Silverhorn, someone is coming up from below. Before he finished speaking, Sun Wukong, played by Nobita, appeared in front of them, looking very majestic. Found it. You evil demons dare to attack Master Sanzang. Nobita held the golden hoop and pointed at the two demon generals sitting on the throne. Humph, you are so arrogant. Let me see who dares to challenge us. Silverhorn stood up, stretched out his hand, and made a fist, and then a trident suddenly appeared in his hand. Putting the weapon on the ground, Yanjiao pointed at Daxing. Who is coming? Tell me your name. You don't know me. Daxing carried the golden hoop on his shoulder. I'm the great sage equaling heaven, Sun Wukong. The two people on the seat were shocked. They actually met like this? Their luck was too bad. And when they were investigating in the temple just now, it was obviously only Master Sanzang and the child down there. This is not over yet. Others came up from below one after another. I'm their navigator on the journey to the west, the most reliable partner, Doraemon. I'm the former marshal of Xianpeng in the heavenly court, Zhu Beiji. I'm the general who rolls up the curtain under the Jade Emperor, Sha Wujing. I'm the third prince of the Dragon King of the West Sea, Xiao Beilang. The two demons also felt the pressure. They didn't expect that the other side would have so many people. It seems that they are not easy to mess with. Yanjiao looked at his brother. Are almost all the people here? Yanjiao counted the number of people and nodded. Yes, we only need one person to be here now. Then he pointed to the blue fat man. I don't know why. There is a civet cat here. Yanjiao also nodded. Maybe he got it on the road. I don't know where it came from. After hearing this, the blue fat man blushed. How many times have I told you that I'm a cat, not a civet cat? At this time, Yu and as he rode on a lotus platform and slowly came behind everyone, chanting the Buddha's name, Amitabha. Junjiao and Yunjiao immediately pointed at Yu and Dazhi. Could this guy be Tang Samzang? Yu and Dazhi. Are these two guys crazy? I don't look like Tang Samzang at all. After taking a deep breath to calm himself, Yu and Dazhi said loudly, look carefully, I'm a bodhisattva. Yunjiao scratched his head. Sorry, we recognize the wrong person. But you do look like Tang Monk. Junjiao nodded. Yes, not only like Tang Monk, but also like someone we saw last time. At this point, the two of them suddenly looked at Yu and Dazhi and Chumushin. Their eyes gradually became strange. You two seem to be the same as the one who attacked a few days ago. Hearing him say this, Yu and Dazhi knew that he and Xiaoshan had been recognized, and he immediately made a decision. We can't let him say this, otherwise they will know we have been here. Thinking of this, Yu and Dazhi took out the Yangtze Ganlu from the jade bottle and threw it casually. A wind blade left a twisted mark in the air, aiming directly at Jinjiao and Yunjiao on the throne. They were interrupted before they finished speaking, and the two of them quickly dodged the strong wind. No one present expected Yu and Dazhi to actually take action in advance, which was not in line with the rules of the battle. Daxing looked at him unhappily. Hey Yu and Dazhi, why don't you wait for them to finish talking before you start? Yu and Dazhi also looked at Daxing and said lightly, which rule says that you have to wait for him to finish talking before you start? The people below were speechless for a moment, as if there was really no such rule, but this is common sense. The wind blade collided with the ground, stirring up a lot of dust for a while, making everyone lose their vision. The people below covered their mouths and coughed to prevent the dust from falling into their mouths. And Yu and Dazhi looked at the Yangtze in his hand. This thing is never as useful as the magic wand, but it has a bonus to his magic. The magic wand is broken, so he can only use this thing to make do. The surrounding bat monsters were attracted by the movement and all flew towards Yu and Dazhi, who was still in the air. Now he is the only one outside the smoke. If those monsters don't look for him, who else can they look for? Seeing the flying bat monsters in the sky, Yu and Dazhi gently put the Yangtze back into the jade bottle. You guys are really stubborn. There are a bunch of weaklings down there, but you come to me. After saying that, he released his mental power with all his strength, covering dozens of nearby monsters. Then, with a thought, these monsters turned into twisted rolls in the air, and then turned into black mist and dissipated. The remaining dozens of bats found that this man was not easy to mess with, so they wandered around him, and did not dare to come forward. The smoke on the platform finally dissipated, and Jinjio and Yunjio looked at Sun Wukong and his group in front of them angrily. You guys dare to look down on us? Show me your moves. Yunjio rushed to Sun Wukong in the front with his trident. He wanted to test how capable this guy was. Because he had only fought with Shizuka before, he didn't know the strength of these people. Moreover, Shizuka didn't fight him head on throughout the whole process, and the leader was chopped down by the king, so he couldn't help but look down on him. Yunjio looked at Sun Wukong in front of him excitedly. I'll take your head, you monkey. Dakshin raised his golden hoop to block in front of him, blocking the gap of the trident. Then he felt the difference in strength. Yunjio's strength was not something he could contend with. He retreated nearly 5 meters in a row, and only stopped when he reached the edge of the platform. You monkey still calls yourself the great sage equaling heaven, but I think you are just a vase, good looking but useless. Yunjio grinned, added more strength in his hand, and pushed Dakshin off the cliff. Chapter 383 Negligence. Oh no, Nobita, I'm coming to save you right away. Seeing that Nobita's life was in danger, Doraemon quickly controlled the bamboo dragonfly and rushed to save Nobita. Fat Tiger and Sunia looked at each other. How dare this man bully Nobita? Don't they know that only they can bully Nobita? You monster, give me your life. The two shouted and rushed to Yunjio, who was on the edge of the cliff. They had the intention of retreating after seeing Yunjio's powerful strength, but they couldn't just watch Nobita being bullied by him. You bastard, remember this, Nobita, only I can bully him. The two's weapons hit Yunjio's head, but not even a drop of blood was knocked off. Yunjio's body defense should now be the strongest monster except for the Bull Demon King. Humph, you two are not much better than that Monkey King. Yunjio turned around and looked at them calmly and scared them out of their wits for a while. Now you can die. Looking at them, Yunjio waved his trident. Just when the two were about to be killed, a man drew his sword to block Yunjio's trident and save them. When Yunjio saw who was coming, he was a little bit unbelievable. It's you. Why is your companion so weak this time? Xiaoshan exerted force on his hand and pushed Yunjio down directly. You don't need to know so much. Then he turned to look at Zhu Beiji and Monksha. Yunjio is relatively weak. You two go to deal with him. After saying that, he jumped off the platform, ready to be the first to kill Yunjio here. After a while, the two of them realized that this was a war and quickly picked up their weapons and pointed their spears at Yunjio behind them. At this time, the bats were still hovering near Yu and Dazuki, not daring to move forward. Damn it. Junjio now has no front row around him, and he, a fragile mage, can't output. With a try mentality, it took out the mouth of the gourd and pointed it at the two people in front. Zhu Beiji, Shamunk, I call you. Do you dare to answer? The two people there said together in tacit understanding. What if we agree? Junjio's head has not yet reacted. He actually succeeded again. But this time the treasure gourd did not move at all, because this is not their real name. And as he also saw the gourd and began to recall the previous things. Oh, I remember. The last time it was chopped by the Bull Demon King, this gourd seemed to fly away. Then he hurriedly looked at his left hand, and the mark representing the dark blade on it was gone. Damn, last time even the dark blade was lost. Where is it now? Seeing that several of his magic weapons were lost, he was immediately unhappy and pulled out the Yangtze to vent his anger on the bat monster. The Yangtze kept changing its length according to his will and hit every monster accurately. When a monster is hit, a burst of black mist will emerge from the place where it is hit, but the damage is not enough to kill it on the spot. Under this venting style of fighting, the bats were scared and fled in all directions and never dared to approach here again. Stop, monsters, don't run. I must beat you to death today. Yu and Dazuki controlled the lotus platform and chased and beat the monsters in the air. Junjio was chased and beaten by two people below. Although his strength was better than any of them, he could not face two opponents at the same time. He was not like his brother who could ignore the attacks of these two people. It would be very painful to be beaten. Originally, he wanted to call the bat monster for support. After all, this kind of little monster is also very good as a meat shield. But when he raised his head, he was shocked by the scene he saw. The so-called Guanyin Bodhisattva was holding a willow branch on the 9th grade lotus platform and constantly beating the little monster. The scene was too cruel. From time to time, monsters were beaten and lost confidence, and simply chose to return to their origins, at least to leave more easily. In this situation, he also understood that the situation on his side was over, so he gave up escaping. Since you won't let me live, I'll take a few people with me even if I die. Looking back at the two people who were still chasing him, Junjie took a deep breath and began to gather his demonic power. After a while, his demonic power gathered in his throat. Seeing that the time was right, Junjie suddenly turned around and spit out a mouthful of demonic fire at them. The two were caught off guard in the back and were hit by the crimson flames. At the moment of danger, Fat Tiger reached out and pulled Xiaofu and put him behind him. The flames burned directly on Fat Tiger's body. When the demonic fire dissipated, Fat Tiger's body had become charred. Xiaofu behind him was well protected and did not suffer any harm. Junjie looked at his masterpiece with satisfaction. I just didn't want to waste my strength just now. Do you really think I dare not fight back? Fat Tiger opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of black smoke, and then his body collapsed and lay on the ground, and it seemed that he was about to die. Fat Tiger, wake up. This is just a joke, right? You will wake up again and take our comic books, right? Right. Sunia knelt on the ground and hugged Fat Tiger's body. He finally couldn't help crying loudly. Fat Tiger. Woo. Junjie raised the good impatiently. Why are you crying? I'll send you over to a company. Who is it? Before he finished speaking, a hand grabbed the back of Junjie's head. I just didn't see you for a while, and you made such a big deal for me. He lifted him up with his hand. I wanted you to go back to the game console, but now it seems that you'd better die. Then he pressed his head to the ground with force, directly breaking half of the platform. When Yu and as he lifted him up again, his eyes had lost focus. Throwing him aside, Yu and as he hurried over to check on Fat Tiger's condition to see if he could be saved. Stop making noise, it's no use crying. Pushing Sunia away, Yu and as he put his hand on Fat Tiger's body. Through mental power, it can be seen that, although Fat Tiger was severely burned, he has not completely lost his vitality. This is thanks to the clothes on his body. Without it, he would really die. How is it? Is Fat Tiger still able to be saved? Xiaofu was beside him, looking at him very nervously. This was the injury he suffered. In order to save him, Xiaofu couldn't help but worry about Fat Tiger. Yu and as he silently chanted a spell, and a green light spread on Fat Tiger's body surface, and soon enveloped the whole body. After pulling Fat Tiger up from the line of life and death, he took out the Yangtze in the bottle and poured a drop of nectar into Fat Tiger's mouth. After doing all this, he took back his props. Okay, in this case, it should be fine. At this time, the charred skin on his epidermis began to fall off gradually, and the new skin began to replace the original damaged part. Life slowly revived in Fat Tiger, and it wouldn't be long before he woke up. Yu stood up and said to Xiaofu, you stay here and watch him. I'll go deal with Jinjiro. Xiaofu nodded vigorously, then sat next to Fat Tiger and waited for him to wake up. Yu restrained his smile and slowly walked to the place where Jinjiro was. This time he was really angry. He dared to hurt his companion in front of him. This was absolutely intolerable. Chapter 380 Fallen Lei. Jinkaku's body was covered with many scars, and silver blood was splattered everywhere. Damn it, he has overpowered me in terms of strength, speed, and weapons. How can I fight him? Jinkaku barely stood up, using the bident with one horn cut off to support his body. Nobita and Doraemon were terrified. They could not intervene in a battle of this level. Dekisugi stopped and pointed at Jinkaku with his hands. I'll give you a chance. Go back to the game console. This is the only way for you to survive. He then signaled Doraemon with his eyes, asking him to take out the hero game console and prepare for recycling. The blue fat man immediately took the prop out of his pocket and opened the safety cover of the game console. Listen, Jinkaku. I'll call you later. You just need to answer me. Jinkaku looked at the machine, and a sense of fear came from the depths of his soul. His intuition told him that, if he went back, the fate he would face might be thousands of times more horrible than direct death. So he raised his bident again, and his body size began to grow. Sorry, although I don't know what that is, but I don't want to be bound anymore. His demonic power began to burn wildly, and Jinkaku's body grew to more than 3 meters tall, and his strength increased several times. Nobita and Doraemon were so scared that they hugged each other. Hey, calm down. As long as you go in, nothing will happen. Dekisugi frowned, and this was the situation he didn't want to face the most. He had known from Shizuka that Jinkaku had the ability to fight desperately, so he wanted to solve it in a peaceful way. I didn't expect this guy to fight to the death to replace him. I really don't know what he was thinking. Isn't it good to be alive? There is no benefit in fighting him now. If you are not careful, you will hurt yourself. It's really troublesome. Just when Jinkaku, who was about to go berserk with full demonic power, was about to go berserk, a golden meatball suddenly fell from the sky and knocked it unconscious. And as he also flew down from the sky. He was the one who threw the meatball just now, and the half-dead Jinkaku was beaten half to death. You are too slow. It took you so long to beat a silver horn. And as he complained as he picked up the two monsters, Golden Horn and Silver Horn, and stuffed them back into the game console. Zyadishan also put Ngang back into his soul. This guy is very thick-skinned. It will take some time. When the blue fat man saw Golden Horn and Silver Horn being stuffed into the game console, he quickly closed the lid to prevent them from escaping again. Nobita ran to Yu and Daisuke. Are Fat Tiger and Sunio okay? He shook his head. Fat Tiger was injured and is still recuperating up there. Hearing that Fat Tiger was injured, Nobita and Doraemon immediately flew to the upper platform to see if they could do anything. Shizuka, who had been staying with Master Sanzang, also came out of the cave. The battle outside was finally over. Did you say Fat Tiger was injured? I'll go over and see how he is doing now. After saying that, Shizuka also controlled her power and flew to the upper platform. Master Sanzang and Lin Lei also came out with their horses and thanked Yu and Daisuke and the others. Thank you for your help. I'm very grateful. At this point, Sanzang looked up at Yu and Daisuke and was stunned. Excuse me, this donor? No, this Bodhisattva. Are you the legendary Guanyin Bodhisattva? Seeing him calling him Bodhisattva, Yu and Daisuke felt a little better. Finally, someone was real. Lin Lei frowned. Bodhisattva? How could he appear here? Chumushin, who was standing next to him, noticed his expression. On the surface, there was no change, but in his heart, he was a little more wary of him. There is something wrong with this person. He actually hates the Buddhist Bodhisattva. Then why did he travel with Master Sanzang? Zyadishan decided secretly that after the two groups separated temporarily, he would tell Yu and Daisuke about this matter, to see what countermeasures he would have. After Yu and Daisuke was secretly happy, he restrained his smile and prepared to talk about business. I'm not Guanyin Bodhisattva, I'm just an ordinary Bodhisattva, don't take it to heart. After saying that, he pointed to Lin Lei next to him. But I see you don't seem to like me very much, Lin Lei, or Red Boy. Lin Lei's face instantly became horrified. His identity was actually known by someone he had never met. Lin Lei, whose mind was disturbed, grabbed his stick and began his journey of escape. But after running 2 steps, a blade of wind suddenly cut the ground in front of him. In a blink of an eye, Chumushin came in front of him. No passage here. Lin Lei took 2 steps back. He had just seen Zyadishan's power, which was not something he could contend with his low demon power. You were originally a demon. Why did you join this journey to the west? This matter doesn't make sense. Yu and Daisuke came to Lin Lei's side slowly, still looking at him with a warm smile. Lin Lei clenched his fists, swung the stick in his hand with all his strength, and hit Yu and Daisuke on the head. He did not dodge or evade, but used his head to resist the stick. Anyway, with Lin Lei, no, Red Boy's strength, it was not painful to resist this stick. He reached out and grabbed the stick, pulled the weapon out of his hand, and threw it aside. Then he hit Lin Lei's neck with a knife, and the huge force knocked him down directly. Seeing that he had shown his intention to attack, Chumashin decided to send him to the Riemann. But at this moment, Master Sanzang suddenly blocked Zyashin. Wait a minute. Chumashin stopped his steps. He wanted to hear what Master Sanzang would do. Yu and Dazi looked at him, without making any expression, and also wanted to hear his next words. Master Sanzang squatted down, and helped Lin Lei up, carefully dusting off his body. No matter he is a human or a monster, as long as he is willing to take this journey with me, I can accept him. Hearing this, Lin Lei looked at Master Sanzang with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Sanzang went on to say, I believe that, as long as he accompanies me on the journey, he will understand the significance of this journey over time. Even if he is really a monster, I'm willing to complete this journey with him. Master Sanzang touched Lin Lei's head and said, are you willing to go on this journey with me? Even if the road ahead is difficult. After hearing what Master Sanzang said, tears gradually appeared in Lin Lei's eyes. This was the first time, since he could remember, that someone was willing to talk to him so gently. He was indeed a monster, but at the same time he was just a teenager. His father looked down on his weak body, and his mother only thought about how to squeeze out his usefulness. Growing up in this environment, he had never felt the feeling of being cared for, but he felt it from the person who had followed him for 10 days. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385 The Seriously Injured Bull Demon King. And as he had expected all the previous events, he remembered that Lin Lei did a good thing at the end, so he decided to give him a chance. If he really wanted to go on the road with Master Sanzang, then Yu and Dazi would not stop him. Wiping away his tears, Lin Lei nodded heavily. I'm willing. As long as you don't abandon me, I will go with you. Zyashin and Dazi looked at each other, and both confirmed that this sentence was indeed from the heart. The Engang knife disappeared in Zyashin's hand, and he made way for the road ahead. Since Master Sanzang has decided to take in this monster, the two will not deliberately embarrass Lin Lei. And as he stood aside and reminded him, you said this yourself, you are not allowed to break your own oath. Lin Lei nodded. Don't worry, I will definitely protect Master Sanzang on the road ahead. Just when the happy ending was about to come, Nobita and the others came down from above. At this time, Fat Tiger had also woken up, and when he woke up, he changed from an African to a European. Hey, Lin Lei, why are you crying? Did Yu and Dazi bully you? Jinxiang saw the tears on Lin Lei's face and immediately thought of Yu and Dazi, who had a bad temper. Yu and Dazi, who was standing next to him, felt bitter. How could you blame me for this? Lin Lei shook his head quickly. You misunderstood. He didn't bully me, he just got sand in his eyes. Yu and Dazi walked to Fat Tiger and looked at him who had peeled off a layer of skin. How do you feel? Are you still uncomfortable now? Fat Tiger raised his hands. Don't worry, I'm fine now. Everyone on this side looked jubilant. After all, they had won the battle just now. And Master Sanzang put his hands together. Sorry little donors, we have to say goodbye now. He was still worried that the Bodhisattva would stuff Lin Lei into the machine like Jinjiao and Yunjiao did and carry out their so-called recycling operation. No one stopped them. After returning the greeting, they watched them leave the canyon. Great, this time the crisis of Master Sanzang has finally been overcome safely. Doraemon wiped the sweat from his head, and the stone in his heart was finally put down. If the monsters eat Tang Sanzang, then the harm they can cause will be great. Then he put away the hero game console, walked in front of everyone, and prepared to lead everyone forward. Now we must go around in front of Master Sanzang, and collect all the monsters in advance. Then Doraemon pointed to Shizuka. Shizuka, you will need to work hard during this period, and continue to play the role of Master Sanzang on the road ahead. Shizuka nodded seriously, and took on this important and dangerous task. Nobita waved his golden hoop. Don't worry, Shizuka, I will definitely protect you. Fat Tiger and Sunia pushed him away. Really, how come we'll let you be the only one in the limelight? Then the two of them put their faces in front of Shizuka. We will protect you too, Shizuka. Yu and Dazi pointed at the two of them and whispered, no, I think you two should just stay together. This self-talk was of course not heard by the noisy people over there, otherwise they would have quarreled even more fiercely. Doraemon separated the noisy people. Everyone, stop making trouble. Let's get going quickly. Time is running out. Fat Tiger and Sunia glared at each other, then turned their heads away and ignored each other. Led by Nobita, they left the canyon and prepared to go around to the front of Master Sanzang to intercept the remaining monsters. Just as the group was gradually entering the desert, Yu and Dazi suddenly pulled the woodpine from behind. He immediately understood, and the two of them gradually slowed down and began to lose touch with their team. After everyone walked away, Zyadishan turned around and looked at Dazi. Why did you suddenly come to me? Is there something important? He nodded. Yes, I have to leave here for a while, and they will be left to you to take care of. Why do you suddenly want to leave? Is it because the prophecy you saw yesterday? In this regard, Yu and Dazi did not reveal the content. Yes, I have something to do now. Zyadishan was silent for a while and looked at the people in front. I know, I will take good care of them. You can go without worry. After getting his promise, Yu and Dazi's body was gradually shrouded in black mist and then disappeared. Zyadishan stood there for a while and then quickly caught up with the people in front. He had already promised others something, and he would never break his promise. The black mist floated at the door of the Bull Demon King's palace, and now this door has been violently destroyed by other creatures. Yu and Dazi's body floated here, and at this time his body was completely covered by the cloak. This is not a safe place, even if the Bull Demon King has lost many soldiers and is seriously injured. Slowly walked into the palace, which had become dilapidated and looked like it had experienced a very tragic battle. Slowly stepping into the palace, the Bull Demon King sat in his seat, breathing heavily. Now the black mist on his body has completely disappeared, and there are many more scars on his body. The most conspicuous one is the claw mark on his chest that has exposed his internal organs. Blood is constantly oozing out, and even the Bull Demon King's huge demon power cannot completely stop the loss of blood. The culprit for all this is the blue Killen lying on the ground. This emerald green monster looks even more miserable, with half of its left front paw missing, and many cuts on its abdomen, back and throat. The ground is stained red by its blood, and it looks like it won't live long. This is the mythical beast that currently lives on this land, coming to challenge the Bull Demon King who polluted the entire land, but unfortunately it failed. Now the Bull Demon King looks at the uninvited guest, who suddenly broke in, his eyes full of vigilance. His entire strength is now greatly damaged, and it is almost impossible for him to survive if he is attacked again. Oh, this Bull Demon King who looks so majestic, how come he is afraid of a small character like me now? Although his tone was frivolous, there was no slackness in Yu and Dazi's eyes when he looked at it. After all, the power of the previous knife was definitely beyond his current level, so he couldn't underestimate it. Otherwise, even if it was just left with little health, it would probably be taken away by its combo. The Bull Demon King knocked on the chair impatiently on the throne. Are you here to take my head? Now his demon power was greatly damaged, and his physical strength was greatly weakened, but he believed that he still had the strength to kill one person. Chapter 386 Fragments of the World. The battle was about to start, but Yu and Dazi shook his head. You misunderstood. I don't want to confront you head on now. Although it is possible to win, if we fight now, the risks are still huge. According to his estimation, even if we fight with Bull Demon King now, there is a 50% chance of killing Bull Demon King. Among these 50%, 20% will directly defeat Bull Demon King and return safely, and the remaining 30% will all be dragged into the water by Bull Demon King before his death and die with him. In other words, the possibility of this deal being truly successful is only 20%. What's more, even if you are lucky enough to win, you won't get any benefits. In this case where the risks far outweigh the benefits, Yu and Dazi will not take risks without authorization. Oh, since you don't plan to kill me when I'm weak, then what do you want to do here? Bull Demon King let down his guard a little, but still stared at him, wanting to see what he was going to do. After all, as a demon king, he couldn't easily believe what the enemy said, otherwise he would not live long. He walked to the dying Killin and said, "Of course, the purpose of my coming this time is to take it away." Then Yu and Dazi turned his head and looked at the Bull Demon King. "I believe that even you would not risk dying with me to stop me, right? How dare you, the king, say that, you?" The Bull Demon King suddenly interrupted his wife. "Be quiet, I have the final say now." The invisible momentum overflowed from him, suffocating the Iron Fan Princess. When the Iron Fan Princess calmed down, the Bull Demon King looked at Yu and Dazi in front of him again. In the situation just now, he had to stop the Iron Fan Princess. If the Iron Fan Princess really dared to fight with Yu and Dazi, then the Bull Demon King himself had to join the battle. Because he knew that there was another subordinate here, so he would have more concerns about this child. If the Iron Fan Princess was lost, the possibility of the Bull Demon King killing his opponent would drop by about half. Without this last straw, the opponent would most likely fight him directly. So no matter from which aspect, he must stabilize Princess Iron Fan and avoid the worst situation. "I'm curious, what do you want to do with this Killin that can't be saved?" In response, Yu and Dazi just smiled, without any intention of explaining for him, and carried the Killin. "Since you said so, I will take it as your agreement. See you next time." After saying that, Yu and Dazi carried the Killin and prepared to leave the dilapidated palace. "Wait a minute." Bull Demon King stopped him again. "If you want to take something away from me, at least leave something for me." The invisible momentum enveloped the palace, which also showed the attitude of Bull Demon King. Yu and Dazi slowly turned around and looked at it. "Oh. Then may I ask Lord Bull Demon King, what do you want?" The scene was silent for a while, and then the Bull Demon King slowly spoke. "This morning, Junjiao and Yunjiao went out. Where are they now?" "You are talking about this question? Don't worry, they are both alive and well now." At this point, his eyes became sharp. "Of course, it is estimated that they will not be able to return to you." After hearing his answer, the scene was quiet for a while, and then the Bull Demon King slowly opened his eyes. "Very good, I received the message you left." The momentum that enveloped the palace gradually withdrew, and the two reached an agreement temporarily. Yu and Dazi carried the Killin on his back and strode out of the Bull Demon King's palace without looking back. Just now, he was also ready for battle, just waiting for the Bull Demon King to attack. However, at the last moment, the Bull Demon King was willing to give in, which he was also happy to see. Then, with the help of the Dark Star Cloak, Yu and Dazi quickly left this dangerous area. This time, he came mainly to find the Killin that could give him blessings in the prophecy. "The time we came here just now was very good, just the best time to bring back the Killin intact. If we had come earlier or later, we would have had to fight it to bring back the water Killin." The Bull Demon King looked at Yu and Dazi's back and sighed helplessly. If possible, he also wanted to strangle the child here, otherwise he would probably die in his hands. But his current physical condition was not optimistic, and there was no way to guarantee that he would survive. Princess Iron Fan walked to his side. "My king, how about I lead the troops to hunt down the child?" "No, no. Now all you have to do is guard this place. As long as I'm not dead, he won't dare to move." Then it opened its mouth and sucked, and the bats in the distance suddenly turned into a demon puppet mist and took the initiative to fly into the Bull Demon King's mouth to repair the scars on its body. It didn't take these little goblins seriously at all. As long as it was still alive, it could do whatever it wanted. Originally, this kind of wound should have taken a few days to recuperate, but now he was actively shortening this process because his soul kept reminding him that the real crisis was approaching. After a while, it licked its lips with satisfaction and stopped its movements. The wound has almost healed, but the power left by Killin is still running around in his body, and it takes time to expel it. Listen carefully. After dark, send a little demon to contact Red Boy and quickly capture Tang Sanzang here for me. At this point, the Bull Demon King's eyes gradually turned red. "As long as I eat him, I will no longer be restricted." After leaving the Bull Demon King's castle, a pure vitality surged from Yu and Dazi's hand into Killin's body and began to prolong his life. And it was nourished by the vitality, and its consciousness, that was about to dissipate, was forcibly pulled back, and it opened its eyes again. Killen coughed twice on his back and then spoke to Yu and Daisuke. You are quite strong. You can carry me directly. Tell me, what do you want to talk to me about? Yu and Daisuke smiled. Can you tell me what is going on in this world? Hearing this question, Killen was stunned for a moment and then suddenly laughed. It seems that you have already noticed it. That's right. After all, you have approached my level. It is normal to guess some clues. Killen stretched out his claws and touched his bald head, with some nostalgia in his expression. Yes, this world is not a complete world. It, or they, are all fragments of the world. And as he fell into deep thought, it seems that there are quite a few fragments of the world nearby. Yes, the fragments of the world you are in, and the fragments that are now devouring this world, all come from. Enough, Lanshu, stop talking. With an angry shout, the figure of an old man gradually appeared between the two. It's too early for him to know these things now. Lanshu. Chapter 387 Level 0 Artifact. And as he looked at the figure in the air with interest, the two knew each other, which was also within his foresight. Lanshu gradually opened his mouth. Ancestor, Master Zoling, why are you in a human soul? Oh, don't mention it. We lost in the second war before. In order to save the remaining compatriots, I had to make a deal with that human. Lanshu was silent for a while before saying, so this kid is the one you chose? Yes, I didn't expect that he would foresee something about you, and I didn't expect you to be alive. Speaking of this, Lanshu smiled bitterly. If it weren't for protecting it, how could I have waited here for thousands of years? At this point, Lanshu suddenly coughed violently several times, and the wounds on his body continued to bleed, and he couldn't hold on for much longer. I don't have much time. Please follow me. This thing must be handed over to him. Lanshu spit out a bead, and the light gradually extended in one direction. Follow this light. Hurry up. If I die, then that thing will be sent into the void. Yu and as he immediately summoned the Dark Star Cloak, wrapped the two people present into a ball, and flew in the direction of the light. After flying for hundreds of kilometers, Lanshu asked Yu and Daisuke to stop in a mountain range, which was where he sealed the treasure. Under the guidance of Killen, the three came to a stone wall with extremely complex magic patterns engraved on it. Killen took a step forward, made a few handprints reluctantly, and then sprayed a mouthful of blood on the stone wall. The patterns on the wall gradually absorbed its blood and finally merged into the stone wall. Lanshu pointed at the wall. Boy, I have no strength now. You come to break this wall. Yu and Daisuke nodded, walked forward and punched the stone wall. But the wall only trembled for a moment, and not even a crack appeared. Lanshu, who was standing next to him, was very pleased. It seems that he has practiced physical skills a lot, and his way of exerting force is really good. Soul Devouring Monument also nodded. Yes, this kid's diligence is worthy of recognition. Yu and Daisuke shook his hands. He didn't expect that the wall would be so hard and hurt his hands. Then he cast a second level magic strange power spell on himself and hit the stone wall again. Lanshu frowned slightly. The spell he used just now seems to be similar to the way the demon race bursts. Soul Devouring Monument nodded. Yes, the human race is always different from the demon race, so I changed the power system and skills based on the methods of ancient humans and the methods of the demon race bursts. I don't have any objection to this, but this power system seems. Soul Devouring Monument stopped him from continuing. I know what you want to say, but there is no more suitable method. Lanshu shook his head slightly. Since it was the decision of the ancestor spirit, he couldn't make any changes. But it's good. His power is just right for that ancient artifact, although it can't be called an artifact now. Yu and Daisuke in front finally broke the stone wall, revealing the treasure inside. A magic wand of almost 2 meters stood quietly on the ground, with a gorgeous blue magic stone inlaid on the top. Although there was no light here, the magic wand was like a blue sun, illuminating the entire secret room. Lanshu walked to the magic wand, pulled it up, and threw it into Yu and Daisuke's hand. This is what I have been guarding for 2,000 years. Now I will give it to you. 2,000 years. Yu and Daisuke suddenly felt that the magic wand in his hand was very heavy, heavier than he thought. The Soul Devouring Monument also floated over. Yes, this thing has made both of us look for it for 2,000 years. Ignoring their chatter, Yu and Dazi injected his magic power into the magic wand, ready to let it recognize its master. But this thing was like a bottomless pit, absorbing magic power crazily, but there was no sign of recognizing its master. Hey, old man, why doesn't it recognize its master? If it keeps going like this, I'll be sucked dry by it. Without saying a word, the soul-devouring monument directly grabbed a talisman from Yu and Dazi's sea of consciousness and stuffed it into the magic stone of the magic wand. After the magic stone absorbed the 7th talisman, the suction gradually stopped, and a soul connection appeared between the two. But Yu and Dazi was not happy at all. The action of the soul-devouring monument directly made him weak. Losing a talisman is completely different from losing magic power. This is a direct drop of a small level. Hey, old man, what is the origin of this thing? It actually has to eat the talisman before it recognizes its master? Yu and Dazi sat on the ground and panted. Now that his sea of consciousness has lost the talisman, his magic power is a little chaotic. This magic wand has lost its origin. It's simply a fantasy to want to fill it with magic power. Even if you give it 10 more, it won't be enough to fill its teeth. You might as well just give it a magic framework and let it replenish the energy it needs by itself. It can also completely remove the mark of the original owner. After listening to what the Soul Devourer said, Yu and Dazi had to agree to this and accept the fact. But unfortunately, he thought he had obtained a cool and powerful artifact that could soar to the sky, but who knew that he would have to level up again from level 0? What should he do next to fight the Bull Demon King? After a long time, he asked the Soul Devourer, "So, what is the name of this magic wand?" Hearing this question, the Soul Devourer and Lan Shu were silent for a long time, and finally did not give an answer. "Now it's yours. You can name it yourself, and don't use the original name." Yu and Dazi looked at the wand, and the 2 white silver pieces on the top were surrounded by blue gems, like wings. Seeing this thing, he couldn't help but think of a thing in the game in his previous life, which felt very similar. Thinking of this, he simply named it with this name. "Okay, from today on, your name will be Archangel Staff." Yu and Dazi happily took the magic staff in his hand, waiting for it to slowly replenish its energy. When he saw the Archangel's staff, the future he could foresee had already reached its end. Just as he was about to sit on the ground to relax and go back, Lan Shu suddenly walked to his side. "Can you replenish my vitality? I have something else to do." Yu and Dazi nodded, and the magic power activated the law, and another life force fell on Lan Shu's body. Now the rejuvenation technique is useless, because his injury is not within the range of curable, and he can only use the purest vitality to prolong his life. The Bull Demon King cut off its life source with that knife, and for it, death is just a matter of time. This is also the reason why the Bull Demon King is willing to let Yu and Dazi take it away, because the Bull Demon King is sure that it is no longer savable. Killin stood up, went to a small room nearby, and took out a lotus platform. Lan Shu scratched it a few times with his claws, while Yu and Dazi in the soul-devouring monument were waiting for his next words. He lifted the ban on the lotus, revealing the things protected inside. The soul-devouring monument looked at the cyan figure inside, eyes wide open in disbelief. This is a little Killin? How can you have a child?" Yu and Dazi guessed what Lan Shu wanted to do, and couldn't help feeling a little excited. He was going to have a pet. Lan Shu brought the little Killin to Yu and Dazi. "This is my child King Gaiu. I'm entrusting it to you here." Chapter 388 The Enemy of the World. Yu and Dazi happily took the young Killin. Hearing the name, "It should be a girl, right?" "No, you think too much." Lan Shu looked at him with disgust. "If it's a girl, I won't feel comfortable handing it over to you." After hearing what he said, Yu and Dazi sat aside and drew circles to curse him. He was actually disliked by this guy. But the soul-eating monument disagreed with this and stood beside Lan Shu, trying to stop him. "Lan Shu, take the Killin away. The demon race in the main world will be rejected by the rules of the world, even if they are transformed into human form." Lan Shu looked at him. "Master Zuling, this is my last request. I know you will have a way. Please do me one last favor for the fact that you have been waiting for me for 2000 years. Just this one sentence made the soul-eating monument swallow all the thoughts of rejection. "I do have a way, but the process is very painful, and the kid has to agree." Are you sure you want to do this? Lanshu nodded. The temporary pain is better than him growing up outside without inheritance. The soul-devouring monument glanced at the faded Yu and Dazi and shook his head helplessly. Go help Kingayu transform, and tell him your last words. Hurry up, the broken body can't retain the power of life. You don't have much time. Lanshu walked to the little killin on the ground, and licked its head gently. The soul-devouring monument floated to Dazi, and discussed the next thing with him. What did you say? Are you serious? Yu and Dazi looked at the old man in the air in disbelief. No way, the process you described is too cruel. I can't do it. This is the only way, to make it avoid the will of the world. There is no other way. The soul-devouring monument pointed at Lanshu and King Yu. If you don't do it, none of them will survive. Taking a deep breath to calm down, Yu and Dazi asked again, can't it be made unconscious before proceeding? The old man still shook his head. No, the whole process must let it actively use its demonic power to cooperate. After a moment of silence, Yu and Dazi sighed and agreed to this. Yes, I know. Let me be all the villains, okay? He looked at King Yu who was communicating with his father. The child had no idea what was waiting for him next. At this time, Lanshu suddenly stopped talking, and his body suddenly began to burn. This was burning the little demonic power it had left to give the child the last gift. Listen kid, I can only accompany you here. You have to listen to them, and don't cause trouble for him. Kingayu looked at Yu and Dazi in the soul-devouring monument in the air, and nodded with tears in her eyes. Lanshu smiled with relief, and his body turned into a puff of smoke, and merged into Kingayu. After absorbing the power obtained by sacrificing his life, Kingayu's body gradually turned into a child of about 10 years old. Lanshu completely dissipated, leaving no debris, and no reincarnation of his soul. Looking at his father who had disappeared in front of him, Kingayu wiped his tears, and walked to Yu and Dazi. From today on, he will live with people he has never met. It is the first time he has seen a human being, since he was a child, so he is inevitably a little timid. Hello, my name is Kingayu. My father asked me to follow you. You won't bully me, right? Yu and Dazi, who should have comforted him at this time, said, of course, and right away. The power of the soul-devouring monument locked Kingayu's body, making it impossible for him to move freely. The old man floated in front of him and said, bear with it. We will carve the magic pattern that isolates the will of heaven and earth on you later. But Kingayu stared at the old man with an innocent face. Carve? What does this mean? Dad didn't teach me. The soul-devouring monument looked into his eyes and opened his mouth, but in the end, he couldn't say anything. Yu and Dazi, go over there and explain to him what engraving means. I don't have the heart to tell him. He pushed the old man away and said, you don't have the heart to tell him, so you have the nerve to let me tell him? You came up with the idea, so go and explain it to him yourself. The two quarreled on the side, and the power that bound Kingayu disappeared, but he still stood there quietly watching them quarrel, without trying to escape. After arguing for a few minutes, they reluctantly came to Kingayu again. Later, this brother will use a knife to draw some lines on your body. This process is called engraving. The old man's eyes kept drifting upwards, avoiding looking at the child, otherwise he would not be able to bear it. But this process will be a little painful. Don't cry then. Kingayu put his hands on his chest, his two index fingers constantly touching each other, and said fearfully, I'm afraid of pain. Can you move faster later? Originally, both of them thought that he would collapse and then beg for mercy, but they were wrong. After hearing what he said, the two were silent for a while, and then gradually faded. What should I do? After hearing what he said, I suddenly felt that I seemed to be even more unable to do it. The soul-eating monument also nodded. If there is another choice, I don't want to do it either. Yu and Dazi looked at the old man with a glimmer of hope. Besides this, is there really no other way? There is no way. Because of the world, the monsters in the main world will not have a good end. Hearing the old man say it so resolutely, Yu and Dazi had to accept this. Well, at least tell me one thing. Why can't the monsters exist in the main world? To be precise, any creature that practices the monster heritage is not allowed to exist, including you who have the monster heritage. But the power system you practice is not the previous monster system, so the world hasn't found you yet. As for the reason for doing this, it is because the owners of these world fragments were once enemies of our monsters. The meaning of their existence is to kill all creatures that inherit the power of the monsters. Then why could the previous summer salt clouds survive in the main world? Don't they belong to the monsters? Speaking of this, Ling Feng suddenly became furious. Don't mention the names of those betrayers to me. Yu and as he was silent for a while, and said, then why did you choose this place? Aren't there other world fragments? The reason is very simple, because the long dormant enemies are about to wake up again. This is the most complete world fragment, and only here can you get enough growth. After another short silence, Yu and as he made up his mind, picked up the dagger, and walked to King Gaiu. Daxing and his friends moved forward rapidly in the desert for a long time, and finally walked in front of Master Sanzang, pretending to be a group of people who went to the west to obtain scriptures. He still held the golden hoop in his hand, and walked happily in front. After all, he was chosen as Sun Wukong, which was the greatest affirmation of the game console for him. But when they walked until the sun went down, they still didn't encounter any monsters. Doraemon, why don't we stop here today? I really can't do it. Daxing half knelt on the ground, sticking out his tongue to indicate that he couldn't go on. Xiaoshan looked at the sunset in the distance, and was a little worried about Yu and as he hadn't come back for so long. Chapter 389 Rest. The others were also sitting on the ground exhausted, without the energy to continue. Seeing that everyone was tired and it was getting late, Doraemon agreed with everyone's idea. Hey, where's Yu and as he? When Doraemon counted the number of people, he found that one person was missing. Xiaoshan's mouth twitched. You only realized it now. Your reaction is too slow, right? I thought you had already discovered it, but just didn't say it. He coughed twice and said, don't worry, he left in advance, because of other things. We don't have to worry about him. Just do what we need to do. Everyone nodded. They were used to it. Anyway, that guy would never get lost. The blue fat man looked around, and saw a small earthen nest not far away, and ran towards it. Everyone looked at Doraemon expectantly, wanting to know what props he would bring out. He put his hand in his pocket, and then took out a big house from it. Putting the house on the ground, everyone felt a vibration from the ground, and pinched their faces to confirm whether it was real. Although his pocket is very mysterious, and can take out large items such as arbitrary doors, it is the first time that a complete house has been taken out of his pocket. What are you doing there? Come over here, this is our place tonight. Seeing that they did not respond, Doraemon waved and told them to come over and rest. When Xiaoshan walked to Doraemon, he couldn't help but take off the blue fat man's pocket. What is the material of this pocket? He actually took out a house from it without being broken. Looking at this thing, Izuku really wanted to use his mental power to decompose it and see what its structure was. The blue fat man snatched the pocket. Izuku, what are you doing? This thing is very precious. He carefully put the pocket back on his body and patted his stomach hard. This thing was put on by the principal of the robot school, who personally wore it on his defective robot. It has a special meaning to him. After going in with Xiaoshan, Doraemon looked at everyone and explained what they had just bought. This is a new prop I bought, a camping capsule hotel, but there are still only 5 rooms in it. At this point, he touched his head. Strange, why are all my props for 5 rooms? I have to buy a bigger one next time. Then he shook his head. Forget it, there are 6 of us now, and Nobita and I will sleep in one room. Everyone nodded to show that they had no objection, and then went to find a room. Doraemon walked outside and took out the fully automatic food machine. This is a prop he bought specifically to prevent food shortages, and he can cook anytime and anywhere. As for the raw materials used for cooking, all of them come from things that can be eaten nearby. As for what things can be eaten around, please refer to Bear Grylls' survival manual and the complete guide to Chinese cuisine. Everything it makes is edible and non-toxic, but whether you can eat it is another matter. It is for this reason that this prop is bought at a relatively cheap price, and he saved money for a long time to buy it. A few dozen minutes later, the blue fat man came to the camping capsule hotel with a bunch of strange things. Everyone come to eat. If you come late, there will be no food. People who were resting appeared in front of the table in an instant, looking at the food on it expectantly. Doraemon saluted and elegantly unveiled the first dish, spicy fried scorpion. Everyone looked at the shiny black scorpion on the plate, and their stomachs suddenly churned, and their faces turned black. Fat Tiger smiled awkwardly. Well, Doraemon, how about we skip this dish, and go to the next one? The blue fat man did not object, and unveiled the second dish on the table, cold cactus. This dish is fresh and juicy, and it is a first-class choice for replenishing water and nutrition. Looking at the green cactus on the table, everyone instinctively wanted to refuse to taste it. But their peripheral vision suddenly caught a glimpse of the first dish, and their appetites returned immediately. They quickly picked up the cactus, and put it in their mouths. If they were slow, it would be gone. The people who had refused at first immediately covered their cheeks and said happily, "It's delicious." Soon, the cactus on the table was swept away and all went into everyone's stomach. Then Doraemon unveiled the third dish he had carefully prepared, roasted wild goose. Each person put a wild goose on their own plate, and everyone finished the meal happily. Except for the first dish, which was a bit strange. The rest of the meal was pretty good. Anyway, there is no entertainment program tonight, so let's go to rest after eating. We still have to continue our journey tomorrow. Everyone nodded and returned to their rooms, leaving the hall in a mess. The blue fat man looked at the table and sighed helplessly. These children were really too untidy. He cleaned up the positions one by one, complaining as he cleaned up, "Why can't they learn from Izuki? Alas, they are really worthy of being the children of other people's families." And as he shook his dagger and completed the carving of the magic pattern. "Okay, in this way, the so-called world will not be able to find him, right?" And as he looked at the old man, if he dared to say that he could find him, he would definitely turn against him. Don't worry, as long as he doesn't participate in too big a fight during the time when the magic pattern solidifies, the world will never target him. King Gyu covered the wound on his body. He still felt pain all over his body. He had to use his demonic power to protect the wound, to speed up the adaptation. It was really uncomfortable. And as he looked at his old clothes, it was no longer suitable for the future time period. It was better to give up. So he took off his cloak and put it on King Gyu, which became a set of clothes that fit him. "Well done. Tell me what you want to eat tonight. As long as there is something nearby, I can find a way to get it for you." He shook his head. "I don't know. Usually when I'm hungry, my father will inject some demonic power into me." And as he looked at Old Man Ling, "Are there any wild beasts nearby? Let me see." After all, the old man's detection range is immeasurable, and he is many orders of magnitude behind him. About 30 kilometers to the west, there is a bear taking a nap. It looks pretty good. Because he didn't have a cloak, he could only fly there by himself. More than half an hour later, and as he came back carrying a bear that was several times bigger than him. He threw down a pile of firewood he had picked up and threw a pile of fire on it. Tonight they will eat roasted whole bear. When the first piece of meat was cooked, and as he cut it off and handed it to King Gyu. "By the way, when are you going to give him the inheritance of the killing power? When his body adapts to the symbiosis with the magic pattern, I will give him these things." The two watched King Gyu wolfing down the food with loving eyes. Besides, he has only absorbed his father's cultivation not long ago, so he needs time to adapt. And as he nodded, he also found that the child's pure physical strength was almost the same as his, and he was not just a vase that could only be protected. After a while, he stood up and stretched. "Okay, I should also prepare for tomorrow's decisive battle." Chapter 390, Leaving Africa and Entering Europe. "By the way, my strength is greatly reduced now. What should I do tomorrow to defeat the Bull Demon King?" And as he sat on the ground and began to think about this serious question concerning his life. According to what he did just now, the Bull Demon King will definitely not let him go after he recovers. King Gyu suddenly raised his head. "Bull Demon King? Is he the Demon King who killed my father? I want to join your team." Seeing his serious look, and as he stretched out his hand and rubbed his hair, "Stop it. This is not a joke. I'm not kidding." King Gyu immediately stood up and looked at Daisuke. "I'm also very strong. I will definitely be able to help when the time comes." Dazi stretched out his hand and tapped King Gaiu's stomach with a little force. He immediately trembled all over as if he had been electrocuted, and then squatted down holding his stomach. Not to mention that you don't know any magic. Your body is not strong enough to support you to participate in this battle, so forget it. After saying that, Dazi lay down, and I don't know where my weapon is now. There is no possibility of fighting against the Bull Demon King. The Dark Blade was knocked away last time, and no trace has been found until now. In addition, the original Wood Spirit Staff was also broken, and the Archangel Staff he got now could not be used. The Magic Stone needs time to recover the magic power, and his cloak also needs to defend King Gaiu to prevent the wound from being touched by other things and causing slow recovery. In order to get a new magic wand, he had to drop a small level. Now he can basically be said to be at the lowest point in recent times. Although the Bull Demon King's strength has also been greatly damaged, he still has no confidence in tomorrow's battle and is very worried that he will capsize with everyone. Should I place my hope on Nobita? Although he is indeed quite reliable sometimes. He touched his chin and thought about the possibility of this, but soon denied it. Forget it. After all, this is not a normal world, so don't hold out hope. King Gaiu finally struggled out of the pain and looked at her stomach unwillingly. Strange, I didn't feel anything when I touched it just now. Why does it hurt so much when he pokes it? Thinking of this, he poked the place just now hard, but he didn't feel anything. Then, he tried it on himself again, but he didn't feel the same as before. The Dark Star cloak on his body sighed helplessly. It's really not easy to take care of a naughty child. Then King Gaiu raised his head again. Hey, look, I'm fine. If you don't believe me, try it again. For such a request, Yu and Dazi usually wouldn't refuse. So he stretched out his hand again and tapped King Gaiu's body 3 times in a row. When King Gaiu touches herself, the Dark Star cloak will provide protection and prevent the force from being transmitted to the wound. But as the owner of the cloak, he still has some privileges. Looking at the child rolling on the ground in pain, Yu and Dazi suddenly felt that the current situation was not so bad. Don't worry too much, the current Bull Demon King is not as powerful as you think. The soul-devouring monument had just returned to his sea of consciousness and communicated with him directly through consciousness. The Bull Demon King's power cannot be replenished before he eats Tang San Zhang. The Bone Dragon and the Killin have consumed more than half of his power. Although he said so, Yu and Dazi was still a little worried. Even if the Bull Demon King only has half of his power, it is far beyond my current strength. Plus, all my magic tools are sealed by their respective situations, and there is no way to compete with the Bull Demon King. The soul-devouring monument smiled mysteriously. Do you know? The Killin can bring good luck, so it is also called a lucky beast. So what? If I take him out for a walk now, can I find magic stones or something like that? If you don't try it yourself, how do you know what good things will happen? Yu and Dazi looked at King Gaiu on the ground. He was still rolling on the ground because of the severe pain. So Yu and Dazi went over and stretched out his hand to pull him up, ready to take him out for a walk, to see what good things this Killin would bring him. Half an hour later, he lowered his head and slowly returned to the cave, not believing in evil. He was hit hard. During the journey just now, he picked up 3 intermediate magic stones, 1 advanced magic stone, and 2 boxes of gold coins. Although these things are no longer useful, they made him, an African, deeply understand what European contempt is. If only I had a unicorn in my previous life, I wouldn't have to spend so much money when I play a certain Zung game. The old man continued to attack him complacently. What do you think? I said that your luck is not very good, right? No, I still don't believe it. I still didn't find the dark blade just now. My luck is not good enough. As soon as the voice fell, a pitch black sword blade fell at the entrance of the cave, and it made a buzzing sound. With an impossible mentality, Yu and Dazi slowly approached the sword. He never believed that his luck could be so good. But when he picked it up, he confirmed that this sword was really the dark blade that was knocked away before. With the blessing of luck, this sword returned to his side with a low probability. Putting the dark blade back into the palm of his left hand, Yu and Dazi whispered, I believe it. Unfortunately, it is precisely because of this attribute that Killin doesn't have a good life in the demon clan. Yu and as he felt very strange at the old man's words. It was obviously a spiritual beast that brought them good luck, so why were they having a hard time? Because killing can only bring good fortune to others, but it can't bring such good fortune to itself. So during that time, almost every tribe wanted to raise a few killing to suppress the tribe's fortune. So, a brand new industry came into being. They make catching killing their main business and sell it at high prices to the leaders of those tribes who are eager to suppress the tribe's fortune. In addition, the Killing tribe itself does not have absolutely powerful strongmen, so they are also powerless to this situation, and can only watch their population continue to decrease. If the Demon King had not discovered that the death of a large number of Killing would cause the fortune of the Demon tribe to dissipate rapidly, and had taken timely measures, the Killing would probably have become extinct by now, but it is still too late. Killing can indeed bring them good fortune, but if too many people rely on their fortune, it will impose a huge burden on the Killing. Every Killing that was forcibly taken to other tribes by hunters basically did not survive for more than a few decades. It is precisely because of the continuous decrease in the number of Killing that the fortune of the Demon tribe began to weaken continuously. It can also be regarded as one of the reasons why the Demon tribe began to decline. Alas. After hearing this story, Yu and as he closed his eyes and prepared to take a rest. He didn't know how to comment on this matter, nor was he qualified to judge whether others were right or wrong. He only needed to cherish the Killing in front of him. Why bother about those things? Speaking of which, how long do you think it will take for his body to completely adapt to the magic pattern you gave him? I don't know the specific situation, but based on his current condition, it will take at least half a month for his wounds to begin to heal. Chapter 391 Quiet Night. Why does it take so long? It seems that my cloak must stay on him during this period, otherwise who knows what he will do to himself. Yu and as he closed his eyes and began to concentrate on recovering his lost magic power. Today's consumption was extremely high. He teleported several times in a row, and a lot of it was absorbed by the magic wand, and he also lost a symbol. In addition, the carving of the magic pattern just now consumed a lot of magic power and mental power. Now his magic power is almost at the bottom. However, losing the 7th symbol does not seem to be a bad thing. After all, this symbol is not as good as the others. Of course, there is good news in general. He just found that the attributes provided by his clothes seem to have become stronger. It should be the bonus brought by killing those monsters. It is estimated that even without their intervention, Nobita and others will slowly pass the level together, and they will still have the strength to fight against the Bull Demon King in the end, right? As for King Gayu next to him, after Yu and as he handed him a fairy tale book, he didn't care what he would do. King Gayu looked at the Japanese on it, and her eyes were full of little stars. She couldn't understand it at all. The soul-devouring monument at the side couldn't bear to watch it anymore, and showed up again, threw the storybook aside, and took out a bunch of ancient demon characters. These things are all from the demon heritage. Yu and as he may not know them, but as a demon, Killing must learn them. King Gayu looked at the ancient characters helplessly, and couldn't help but secretly cast his eyes on the storybook next to him. That book is better, at least there are pictures on it, and there is no annoying old man. Seeing that this kid dared to be distracted, the soul-devouring monument didn't say a word and hit King Guyu's little head with a knife. This ancestor spirit is here to teach you personally, and you dare to be distracted. Read it to me quickly. How do you read this word? He pointed to the text he just talked about, and asked King Gayu to repeat it to him, otherwise he would punish him. After Nobita and the others finished their meal, and rested for a while, they began to be in a daze in the room. They are now also confused about tomorrow's battle. After all, from today's point of view, the fighting power of those monsters is definitely not weak. Just 2 demon generals almost beat them all to death. According to Doraemon, there are at least 8 demon generals in this game, and the task is not so easy to complete. Now half of the main fighting force is gone, and no one knows how far they can go. Doraemon sat on the bed and blamed himself. After all, Fat Tiger almost died today, and he was also responsible. If he hadn't forgotten to turn off the game console, the Bull Demon King would not have come out, and there wouldn't be so many things. So he began to inspect his equipment. It was impossible to defeat those monsters relying solely on the power provided by the game console. Fat Tiger did push-ups on the ground, and he also found that his strength was too weak. If he couldn't protect his companions, then how could he say that he was the king of children in this area? Shizuka knelt on the ground, silently praying for their future, hoping to survive this crisis. Sunir also started to exercise, and he didn't want to hide behind Fat Tiger all the time. He found that he was too weak in the previous adventures, and Yu and Daisy and Fat Tiger had saved him many times. Although they would definitely not abandon him in times of crisis, Sunir didn't want to hold others back. Nobita returned to the room and saw Doraemon repairing his props, so he went to him to ask for some things. Maybe he would need them tomorrow. And Izuku was under the greatest pressure because he knew very well how powerful the Bull Demon King was. Although Daisy said that the possibility of victory was more than 70%, he was still uneasy. So he took out the Soul Stone and planned to practice well in the quiet time now. It was already late at night. Tang Sanzang and Lin Lei sat by the fire, and tomorrow they would enter the desert that had lost countless people. Starting tomorrow, we will enter the desert area, and the journey will be very difficult at that time. Are you mentally prepared? Tang Sanzang looked at Lin Lei opposite him with expectation in his eyes. Many people gave up along the way, but a demon was willing to follow him, which really surprised and comforted him. Don't worry, Master. I've already prepared myself. Wherever you go, I'll follow you. After the two said goodnight to each other, Tang Sanzang fell asleep, but Lin Lei couldn't fall asleep. He always felt that something was going to happen tonight. Since the so-called Sun Wukong and others came, the world seemed to have changed a little. Although the demon power was not strong, he could still clearly feel that this world seemed to be afraid of something, and the source was those people. So he felt very uneasy in his heart. His mother might know about this and contact him. Unknowingly, it was late at night. Fat Tiger and others completed their training and gradually fell asleep. After Nobita asked Doraemon for some things, he was ready to go to bed. But at this moment, he suddenly saw the starry sky outside and got off the bed. Doraemon is still organizing the props. Seeing Nobita suddenly coming down, Doraemon asked him, "Nobita, do you want to go out?" "Yes, look at how beautiful the night sky is now. It would be a pity if you don't go out to enjoy it." Nobita said hello to Doraemon without turning his head and walked out the door on his own. Doraemon prepared the props needed for tomorrow and put them in his pocket for use. Finally, he took out the danger alarm, put this in place to prevent accidents at night without anyone noticing. Then he glanced at Nobita outside the window and whispered, "Then Nobita, good night." On the other side, Shizuka in the room was praying to the sky and suddenly saw Nobita going out. At this time, she was also nervous and couldn't sleep, so she put on Sanzang's clothes to protect herself and walked to Nobita's side. Nobita heard the footsteps and looked back at her. It turned out to be Shizuka. "Why are you still not sleeping so late?" The two sat side by side, looked up at the starry sky, and seemed to be in a better mood. Such a beautiful starry sky. Even the previous artificial starry sky is far inferior to it. Nobita nodded. Yes, artificial things are always inferior to natural scenery. Then Nobita lowered his head again. But such a beautiful starry sky. There are those man-eating monsters below. It's really a pity. In the distance, King Gyu, who was being taught by the soul-devouring monument, sneezed and always felt as if someone was scolding him. The two were silent for a while under the starry sky, and Shizuka suddenly turned her head and looked at Nobita. Maybe the Sun Wukong in history really existed. Right, Nobita. Nobita just smiled. Now he doesn't care so much about these things. There is no need to entangle this. A black bat flew by here and suddenly saw that there was an extra house here, which was very strange. So driven by curiosity, it came here and then saw Nobita and Shizuka sitting there. The monster sped beside it, as if it accidentally ate something it shouldn't have eaten. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392 Sanzang is captured. At this moment, the danger alarm Doraemon placed at the head of his bed suddenly whistled, waking Doraemon up. Really, what's wrong with this alarm clock? I just slept for a while. No. Doraemon, who was not sleepy, immediately reacted. This thing is not the alarm clock they usually put at home. He immediately looked outside, and there was indeed a bat peeping at Nobita and Shizuka from behind, and spitting. So he shouted outside, "Nobita! Shizuka! There is a monster behind you." The two people outside immediately looked back, and there was indeed a bat monster not far behind them. Help! There is a monster. Nobita was not wearing the Sun Wukong suit, and was scared out of his wits. The blue fat man in the room covered his face helplessly. This guy looked like he was hopeless. The bat monster also turned around and ran away. After all, it was sent by Princess Iron Fan to contact, and it couldn't waste too much time. And there were so many people on the other side, and the probability of his death was very high if a fight really broke out. But Shizuka was not happy. There was a female man living in her heart. How could she let it go? He stretched out his hand, and a halo of light with scattered lotuses condensed in his hand, and then hit the back of the bat at a very fast speed. The pink light shone, and the bat demon disappeared completely in the night. She clapped her hands in satisfaction. As a priest, she could occasionally play the role of a mage. Nobita stood by, and said that he was stunned. Although he knew something about Shizuka's female manly side, he didn't expect her to be so vigorous. Okay, Nobita, it's getting late now. Let's go back and rest. Shizuka walked back to the hotel quickly, and Nobita was stunned for a long time before slowly walking in. And as he practiced on the ground for a long time, and only stopped refining magic power when his mental strength was almost gone. At this time, the old man was still teaching Kingayu to read, and he yawned and didn't listen to the class at all. This look made the old man angry. The ancestor spirit is teaching you in person, and you dare to be distracted during class? Look at my slap. Just when the old man was about to teach him a lesson, and as he pulled Kingayu over. If you don't want to go to class, forget it. Anyway, this is not a place to study, and it's so late now. Then he yawned. Not resting well will affect your body. Going to bed early is better than anything else. Kingayu also made a face at the soul-devouring monument. It was really abominable that this old man was so arrogant. The spirit of the old man clenched his fists. After living for so long, this was the first time he was provoked by a child of the demon clan. This was the consequence of lack of education. But looking at Kingayu, who was gradually falling asleep, he slowly put down his hand. After all, there was only one demon left here. What else could he do? He could only spoil her. And as he also fell asleep quickly, he was also very tired today. The old man returned to his sea of consciousness and took the initiative to take charge of the alert work tonight. While working, she complained that these children nowadays have no respect for their elders or knowledge. It was the second half of the night, and Princess Iron Fan had been waiting for news from the soldier, but there was no response. She paced back and forth in the palace, and her uneasiness became stronger and stronger. Finally, she made up her mind, and walked to the king. "King, I request to go to Red Boy." The bull demon king on the throne nodded. His injuries have recovered a little now, and it will not affect the next battle. If the child dares to come, he will be sure to bury that person in this palace. Princess Iron Fan, who was authorized, immediately asked the king for a few soldiers, and went with her to the place where Red Boy was. She had set a beacon on the child before, just to prevent herself from finding him when she needed him. According to the guidance of her beacon, Princess Iron Fan flew straight to the entrance of the desert. Not long after flying out, a little bat suddenly came over and reported the surrounding situation to her. Princess Iron Fan paused in the air for a while. "What did you say?" "There is an extra house over there that I haven't seen before." After hesitating for a while, Princess Iron Fan gave up the idea of going over there to find out. After all, she didn't have much time to spare, and she had to complete her mission as the best goal. So she continued to lead the few little monsters behind her, and continued to the entrance of the death desert. Lin Lei, who was not asleep, suddenly felt the approach of an extremely powerful breath. He immediately sat up, and prepared to wake up his master. But at this moment, the figure of Princess Iron Fan appeared in front of him, forcing him to stop his actions. Princess Fan looked at Red Boy from above. Where is the messenger sent? Why didn't I see it? Red Boy touched his head. I don't know what messenger is. I haven't seen it today. She frowned, because this time Red Boy did not lie. He really hadn't seen a messenger. But soon she relaxed. Since she was already here, it didn't make any difference whether the messenger came or not. Master Sanzang heard the noise and finally woke up from his deep sleep, and then he saw the monster in the air. Princess Fan also noticed this situation and pointed to the humans below. Forget it. Since you haven't seen it, then you haven't seen it. You guys, go and capture Master Sanzang for me. The little goblins behind him immediately flew forward, ready to capture this Sanzang and eat him. Master Sanzang chanted the Buddha's name softly. From the moment he took in Lin Lei, he knew that there would always be a disaster, but he didn't expect it to come so soon. Just when the two bats were about to catch Master Sanzang, Lin Lei behind him finally made a move. For him, Master Sanzang is also his relative, and he will not sit idly by. The iron stick in his hand swept across the bat monsters in the air, opened them, and then pulled up Master Sanzang to escape. Others thought that Princess Fan was only powerful with the banana fan, but as her son, he knew this very well. In addition to the banana fan, his mother's own demon power is second only to his father. In addition, she is proficient in swordsmanship, and her strength is no less than that of Yunjiao. Among all the demon generals under the Bull Demon King, her strength is actually the strongest. And Lin Lei's Taoism is not as good as that of ordinary demon generals. How could he beat his mother? Princess Fan's face gradually became gloomy. Red Boy, do you want to betray your mother and our demon clan? Hearing this tone, he knew that his mother was angry, but he did not stop. He promised those people that he would protect Master Sanzang, and he must not break his promise. Master Sanzang was also a little surprised. He didn't expect that he would actually betray his camp, but he was actually more relieved in his heart. The Bodhisattva did not make a mistake. So Master Sanzang stopped and broke free from Red Boy's hand. Child, this is my destined calamity. I don't need you to help me with the calamity. Master Sanzang clasped his hands together and let the bat demon behind him grab him into the air. He really didn't want to implicate this little apprentice because he could see from Lin Lei that he was no match for his mother. If he insisted on protecting himself, then Lin Lei's mother would definitely kill him. Rather than both of them dying here, it is better to let the child go. At least there is hope that one of them can survive. Chapter 393 How to See the Sun. No, I will never let you take Master Sanzang away. Lin Lei once again picked up the stick and hit the bat demon next to him, trying to rescue the master. However, at this moment, a sword light fell from the sky, and the iron stick in Lin Lei's hand instantly broke into two sections. Princess Fan walked up to him with a sword and put the sharp blade on his neck. I really didn't expect that you, a child, have only been with Sanzang for a short time, and you have learned to rebel. Lin Lei stared at her without saying a word, quietly tightened the stick in his hand, and prepared to fight his mother to the death. Princess Fan noticed his little move, and the confusion and anger in her eyes became stronger. What kind of magic potion did this Sanzang give him? He was so fooled that he didn't even want his life. Stop. Just as both sides were about to take action, Sanzang's roar suddenly came from the side. Lin Lei, you are still very young. There is no need to die for me. Go back. Although the tone was very flat, it faintly revealed a momentum that could not be refused. Lin Lei struggled for a long time and finally let go of the stick in his hand. Seeing that he gave up resistance, Princess Fan did not intend to embarrass him. After all, he was her son. You know the time. Let's go. The king should be impatient now. Then she took the lead and flew into the sky, and the four bat demons behind her also followed her into the sky, holding a Sanzang master in her hand. As for Red Boy, he will come back naturally when he thinks it through outside, and it is not appropriate to take him away by force. And if the Bull Demon King sees his rebellious appearance, it will be even more dangerous. Seeing Sanzang Master being kidnapped, Lin Lei was completely desperate and knelt on the ground powerlessly. Why am I so weak as a demon general? He kept beating the stone with his hands, letting the blood flow until his hands were bloody. His inner grief and anger were reduced a little. At this time, the sky had already dawned, and the sun's glory fell on him again. By the way, we can't give up hope. Lin Lei suddenly stood up, his body full of new energy. As long as we find the Bodhisattva and the others, we can definitely rescue Master Sanzang. Yes, I don't have time to waste. After finding a new target, he desperately ran to the desert and began to look for traces of Sun Wukong and the others. Princess Iron Fan and the others flew back for a while, and suddenly she stopped in the air and looked at the building below. Just now I was wondering where the communication soldier went. Since Red Boy doesn't know, it can only be them who did it. After speculating this, he looked at the little demons behind him. You two send Master Sanzang back first, and you follow me. The two little demons squeaked in response, and then flew back to the palace with Master Sanzang. Princess Iron Fan led the other two little demons to fly to the hotel, ready to fight with the guys below. Yesterday, their king was actually tricked by a child, and until now she is still holding back a ball of fire in her heart. I don't know if that kid from yesterday is still here. I won't let him off easily this time. When she thought of Yu and Daisuke, her anger rose, and she even flew faster. Nobita and Doraemon had already gotten up. After all, it was almost 8 o'clock. At this time, Doraemon took out the food wrap and asked everyone to say what they wanted to eat. Just as everyone was eating breakfast, a strange sound suddenly came from Doraemon's stomach. The blue fat man put his hand in his pocket. Strange. Is my alarm clock ringing? He touched the prop that was screaming, turned it off, and continued to enjoy dorayaki. Today's breakfast is really delicious, but it's a pity that Yu and Daisuke won't have the chance to eat these. While eating, Fat Tiger didn't forget to make fun of Yu and classmates to satisfy his vanity. Sunia poked Fat Tiger with his elbow. Stop it, okay? Maybe he eats better than you now. The two quarreled like this, and the people around them kept watching the show, and didn't forget to interject. Seeing that they were almost done arguing, Xiaoshan went over to mediate and give them a way out. He pointed to the sun in the sky and said, okay, aren't we all good friends? What's more, the weather is so good today, and it's the right thing for everyone to hurry up and get on the road. Everyone looked at the rising sun. The sun this morning was still so warm and full of energy. Just when everyone was enjoying it, Doraemon's expression suddenly turned into a dead fish eye. Hey, why can we see the sun here? Aren't we in the hotel? Demishan also reacted. Yes, why can we see the sun? Did you find that the props are broken? Everyone immediately threw away the tableau in their hands and stood up. The ceiling of the hotel disappeared. Was it stolen last night? 3 black shadows appeared in everyone's sight, looking down at all living things in the sky. Princess Iron Fan looked at them with a fan taller than her. Why are you kids not sleeping at home and running here for nothing? Princess Iron Fan was holding a big fan, and it was the banana fan that blew away their roof just now. Everyone was now wearing the Journey to the West suit, and they were not helpless, so they all entered a state of combat readiness. Fat Tiger, who had the most bad temper, pointed at the top and shouted, you bastard, you dared to blow my roof off. Let me see how I can deal with you. Then he jumped up and hit her head with his 9-toothed rake, preparing to give her a trendy new hairstyle. Demushin immediately felt bad, because the power of this monster was much stronger than the previous two. So for safety reasons, he also took out an gang and attacked her with Fat Tiger. However, Princess Iron Fan took her fan calmly and fanned them both. The huge wind pressure blocked the two people, and the aftermath destroyed all the hotels on the ground. But the hurricane still showed no signs of stopping, and a sandstorm blew in the desert. The dust in the sky obscured everyone's eyes, making them feel desperate. Sunia had lost confidence. What should we do? It's so powerful with just one fan. How can we fight it? He was passive and didn't notice that this wind that was enough to blow people apart didn't leave him any scars. This was because the suit was upgraded after defeating King Kaku and Yin Kaku. The more monsters they defeated, the more power they could gain, and their physical fitness would also improve. The power that the suit can provide now has increased by about 50%, and the defense has increased significantly. After Doraemon confirmed that no one was injured, he took out the wind god fan and fanned it towards the sky. Doraemon's wind broke through the hurricane that was still at the end of its strength, and the sky became clear again. Princess Iron Fan above frowned slightly. She didn't expect that there was a treasure similar to the banana fan here, but how did they get it? The others finally rekindled their fighting spirit. Nobita called the somersault cloud and entered the battle state. Doraemon threw out a few bamboo dragonflies and landed on the heads of the few people who couldn't fly, and everyone attacked them together. Should I praise you guys for your courage? Princess Iron Fan snorted coldly, picked up her palm leaf fan, and fanned downwards with all her strength. Chapter 394, Princess Iron Fan's defeat. When Princess Iron Fan waved her hand, Doraemon realized that this was not the same as the wind just now. This hurricane had exceeded the maximum power of the wind god fan. So he took out another palm leaf fan, adjusted the wind force, and waved 2 fans forward at the same time. The strong winds on both sides collided in the air, and Nobita and others were blocked in the middle and could not move forward. Seeing this, Princess Iron Fan was ready to wave the palm leaf fan again for a quick victory, but several pink light bullets suddenly flew from the side. In order to avoid her own hands, she fanned to the side and bounced off the incoming light bullets, and then she looked down. Shizuka was standing on the ground, and the pink halo on her hand was still gathering, and it seemed that she was ready to attack again. Princess Iron Fan's pupils suddenly shrank. Why is there another Sanzang here? Isn't the real Tang Sanzang in their hands? Did she catch the wrong one? Then she looked down, and the costumes of those people seemed to be very similar to the costumes of Sun Wukong and his party in their cognition. Could it be that these are the real people of Journey to the West, and the one in the pink monk robe is Tang Sanzang? But who was the middle-aged uncle before? Princess Iron Fan thought for a while, and quickly made her own decision. Since she couldn't tell them apart, she would capture Tang Sanzang as well. She immediately signaled to the 2 little demons behind her with her eyes, and pointed at Shizuka below. The strong wind in the air also dissipated at the same moment, and this time the collision was evenly matched. This time she put away the banana fan, took out her best weapon, the male and female swords, and planned to fight in person. After all, her banana fan was similar to the 2 fans of a blue civet cat, so fanning each other was just a waste of time. The little demon behind her took advantage of the chaos to sneak underground, preparing to find time to take Shizuka away. Xiaoshin was the first to rush to Princess Iron Fan. He was fanned far away by her just now, and he is still very unhappy. The swords collided, and Princess Iron Fan's blue changed instantly. How could this child be so strong? After rolling several times in the air to release the force, Princess Iron Fan stopped and looked at Demishin again. Really, I didn't want to waste my power here. But it seems that, if I don't pay at all, I can't complete my task. The consumption of her power began to increase gradually. Her appearance did not change, but her strength increased several times. Xiaoshin took advantage of the victory and slashed at Princess Iron Fan again, preparing to kill her alone. But this time he didn't expect that Princess Iron Fan's power was suddenly about 30% greater than his. Humph, you overestimated your own strength. Princess Iron Fan snorted coldly and suddenly exerted force on her hands. In Demishin's unbelievable eyes, he was chopped to the ground, splashing a lot of dust. But this didn't hurt him. After tidying up on the ground, he flew towards Princess Iron Fan again. At this time, Nobita, Fat Tiger and Sunia also came in front of Princess Iron Fan, which scared her a lot. After all, the power of a child was so strong before, and she couldn't withstand 3 at a time. So she accelerated and jumped up, avoiding what she thought was a fatal attack this time. Before she had time to catch her breath, several light bullets flew towards her, so she had to start moving again. No, I can't keep hiding. I have to give them a chance. Princess Iron Fan looked at Sun Wukong chasing behind her and decided to fight to the death and block the stick with her body. So she ignored the golden hoop stick that was close behind her, and her demonic power poured into the sword, swinging the sword towards the position where Shizuka was below. At this moment, the golden hoop that Nobita swung with all his strength also fell on Princess Iron Fan's head. The silver-white sword energy passed by Shizuka, but did not hurt her directly. After all, this was the food that the king wanted to eat, and it would be difficult to explain if he killed her. And Nobita's golden hoop fell on Princess Iron Fan's head. She was ready for serious injuries, but she felt that she didn't seem to be injured. It's strange. Why did I take his stick, and I didn't even get hurt? So in order to verify her guess, she kicked Nobita, who was still in the air. It was just as Princess Ainfan thought. This so-called Sun Wukong was a weakling. She kicked him with all her strength and sent him flying into the distance. TSK, he's just a weakling. After saying that, Princess Ainfan looked at the somersault cloud that was still in the air. The somersault cloud didn't understand what was happening. It stared at Princess Ainfan in the air for a long time. Suddenly, it was frightened and chased after Sun Wukong, who had already flown far away, to save him. Sun Wukong is just a show-off. What about Zhu Beiji and Mongsha? Are they also just for show? Princess Ainfan didn't have time to breathe a sigh of relief. A strong wind came, and she quickly raised her sword to block the knife. It was blocked. I thought I could hurt you a little. After missing the attack, Chumushin immediately made a pedal in the air and caught the point of impact to fight with Princess Ainfan. He didn't want to fight this monster head-on. One force can defeat 10 skills. The power gap between the two was a bit big. Fat Tiger and Sunia also flew over, and Princess Ainfan kicked them one by one into the distance. In the battle with Demolition, Princess Ainfan was still trying to delay time, but a dark hand suddenly stretched out from the ground in the distance. She saw the gesture, indicating that Tang Sanzang had been caught, so she put away her sword and prepared to leave. At this time, Xiaoshan noticed her intention to escape and blocked her way. Everyone's efforts must not be wasted. Get out of the way, you are not my opponent. Princess Ainfan tried to avoid fighting him so as not to waste her strength. Demolition stood in front of him with his Ngang sword, without any intention of compromising with her. Princess Ainfan sighed lightly, took out the male and female double-edged sword again, and prepared to defeat him and leave. At this moment, several strange spheres suddenly flew in the distance and exploded around the two of them. Xiaoshan smelled these things. This can't be Pepper. Hu. Demolition and Princess Ainfan burst into tears in the air, choked by this thing. In order to make herself more comfortable, Xiaoshan had to put away Ngang and use her mental power to condense into a temporary barrier. But Princess Ainfan did not have this ability. After all, she did not know how to use the advanced power of the demon. In the distance, Nobita raised his hand happily, using an air gun with pepper bullets. I'm such a genius. He asked Doraemon for these things last night, thinking that they might be used soon. The power of the demons is much greater than Th's, and it is impossible to hit them directly. The only way is to use other props to make up for the gap. At this moment, Doraemon below finally flew up and raised his fist to hit Princess Ainfan. Princess Ainfan was still in a state of tears, and her attention was also focused on Dekisugi in front of her, so at this moment she was completely unprepared. The chubby little hand fell on Princess Ainfan's belly, and the force of this punch almost knocked her eyeballs out. In the 2 minutes he disappeared just now, the blue fat man used Xiu's password to cancel his safety agreement. In other words, the punch that hit her belly just now was a real 129.3 horsepower. After Doraemon's earth-shattering blow, the battle finally ended. Princess Ainfan was beaten unconscious by him and was locked in a small dark room without any resistance. The power gained by everyone was further enhanced. Chapter 395. Almost there. The group landed on the ground, and everyone remembered that there should have been a fake Tang Sanzang on the ground. She should still be in this sand, right? Doraemon took out the banana fan and lifted the nearby sand. But what everyone didn't expect was that there was no trace of Shizuka in it. Nobita covered his face and remembered what happened before and almost collapsed. Shizuka, he won't be killed by Princess Ainfan, right? Doraemon slapped him. What nonsense are you talking about? If Shizuka died, the game console would have a prompt. At this time, the interface of the game console was still the same as before departure, which means that so far, none of the players had died. The fairies in the ground have seen that the lady was defeated. After discussing for a while, they took Shizuka away first. Zhu Beiji and Fat Tiger, who might have discovered the abnormality, have not returned. After being kicked away by Princess Ainfan, Doraemon restarted the safety protocol to reduce his power. Don't be discouraged. Maybe Shizuka was just blown away. Doraemon also walked over and patted Nobita on the shoulder. That's right. It's not time to give up yet. Nobita looked at his companions around him, and suddenly he rekindled hope. You are right. How can we give up easily? Let's look around. Maybe we can find it. Nobita stood up and called the somersault cloud, flew into the air with it, and began to look for Shizuka's traces around. The Bull Demon King in the distance opened his eyes. Just now, he found that his power had weakened a little bit, and knew that Princess Ainfan had died in the battle. Even my wife couldn't escape. It seems that this time God really wants me to die. Then he looked at his sword again, ready to face the decisive battle. No matter what, he would not easily accept this fate. If you want his life, then take it with your strength. Nobita anxiously rode the somersault cloud, flying faster and faster. At this moment, he suddenly saw the sky in the distance become dark, and the air seemed to be filled with a demonic aura. What is that place? Is it a gathering place for demons? Let's go and have a look. Nobita flew into the oasis covered by black fog. Two demons in the sky were leading Sanzang to the Flame Mountain. And this time, Nobita happened to see them. Is that a demon? They seem to be holding something. It's Sanzang. He made a prompt decision and controlled the somersault cloud to chase the demons and save Sanzang. According to Doraemon, as long as any of Sanzang was eaten by the Bull Demon King, the consequences would be serious. The little demon could not be Nobita's opponent now. He beat the two demons into black fog with a stick. At this time, they were very close to the Flame Mountain. If they walked a little further, Tang Sanzang would enter the area covered by flames. Master Sanzang, wake up quickly. Now is not the time to rest. He caught Sanzang and put him on the cloud, trying to wake him up from his deep sleep. But in the burning mountains, a huge shadow gradually emerged above the flames. You are the one who defeated Yunjiao, and my wife Princess Ainfan, Sun Wukong. Nobita felt an extremely strong pressure, and turned his head with difficulty, to look at the owner of the voice, who was the Bull Demon King in armor. Yes, I defeated them. Now I want to defeat you too, Bull Demon King. Nobita put down Master Sanzang and once again raised his golden hoop to hit the Bull Demon King. HMPH, then let me see how powerful you are, the guy who calls himself the Great Sage equaling heaven. The Bull Demon King raised his hand and punched, colliding with Nobita's golden hoop in the air. I will definitely come back. Nobita was knocked away by the huge fist, and this time he really couldn't find his shadow. The Bull Demon King's power was not at the same level as Princess Ainfan, and he didn't know where he would fly this time. The Bull Demon King, who was stunned, looked at his fist. He just wanted to try it out, but he didn't expect to solve it directly. Well, forget it. Anyway, we have brought Tang Sanzang back, so let's eat him quickly. The Bull Demon King sideswept across the mountains here, and found that Tang Sanzang had just fallen on the outskirts of the Flame Mountain. Walking to the edge covered by the flames, there was still a certain distance from where Tang Sanzang was. What should I do? I can't get out of here now. Am I supposed to watch him sleep here? At this time, he was also helpless. Originally, the current situation could be solved by the soldiers who could come and go freely. But unfortunately, on the first day, Yu and Dazi and his men made a big fuss and killed almost 60% of the soldiers. Later, the Bull Demon King worked hard to create a lot of them, but Jinjiao and Yunjiao took them out and gave up a lot. Even more unfortunate was that a water unicorn suddenly appeared here, and the bat demon was almost wiped out by it. And last night, in order to repair his body, he ate more than half of the bats. There were only a few little goblins left, and Princess Ainfan took away the last troops. The demon puppet mist that created the little bat was also beaten by the unicorn and the bone dragon, and he really couldn't do anything. The Bull Demon King had no choice but to lie on the ground and try to reach his hand out of the flames to catch Tang Sanzang. He stretched his hand forward as far as he could and kept muttering, almost. After trying for a long time, he found that there was a distance of 1 or 2 meters between his fingers and Tang Sanzang, and there was no way to catch Tang Sanzang. In the end, the Bull Demon King could only stand up and watch, and Tang Sanzang escaped. If Sun Wukong hadn't moved him a little bit outside, he might have been caught and eaten by the Bull Demon King this time. Humph, forget it. I'd better go back and make a few more bat monsters, which will take about half an hour. The Bull Demon King walked back to his palace and began to use his demon power to give birth to bat monsters. Fat Tiger, Sunia and others finally gathered together, and they really didn't find Shizuka. What should we do? Or should we go find Nobita first, and then make a long-term plan? Doraemon's proposal was agreed by them, and everyone walked towards the direction where Nobita left under the guidance of Zayashi. Everyone wore bamboo helicopters, and followed Nobita's footsteps all the way, and began to fly to the location of the Bull Demon King. In the cave, Yu and Azzy finally woke up. Because he practiced too late last night, he overslept again in the morning. After waking up, Yu and Azzy found that King Gayu used his body as a pillow and slept soundly on it. This child's sleeping posture is not very good. He actually used my body as a pillow. Yu and Azzy yawned and complained a few words and was about to wake him up. He seemed to have a nightmare last night and climbed on Yu by himself. The spirit of the soul-devouring monument appeared in front of him and pulled King Guyu's ears helplessly. Don't sleep, ancestor. I still have to teach you the writing and history of the demon clan today. You have to listen to my class carefully. He was violently called up early in the morning and then heard the bad news, which destined him to be in a bad mood today. Yu and Azzy went out and found 3 ramen fruits from a random tree and used this as their breakfast today. After distributing the grown fruits to the 3 of them, Yu and Azzy picked up the ice chopsticks and started eating. After eating a few bites, he looked at the 2 people next to him. Why don't you eat? King Gayu looked at him and moved his fingers. Just now, he tried hard to learn how to use chopsticks like Yu and Azzy, but failed. Finally, he looked at him for help, which made Yu and Azzy feel that his sin was very serious. I know, I can feed you, right? He picked up the chopsticks and put the noodles into King Guyu's mouth. Then Yu and Azzy looked at the old man. What's wrong with you? Do you want me to feed you too? No, I'm a spirit now, so I don't need to eat. Yu and Azzy, I forgot. Chapter 396. Visit again. After breakfast, Yu and Azzy also set off to participate in the decisive battle in the palace over there. According to his memory, Dakshin and his companions did go to the palace to fight the monsters the next morning. At this time, after Dakshin was punched by the Bull Demon King, he happened to fall beside Lin Lei, who came. Master Sun Wukong, why are you here? Lin Lei hurried over to help Dakshin up. He pulled his face out from under the sand and finally saw who was coming. Lin Lei, Master Sanzang was captured by those monsters in front of you. Speaking of this, Lin Lei was silent for a while and knelt in front of Dakshin. I'm really sorry. Master Sanzang has been captured by the monsters. Now only you can save him, please. Looking at his appearance, Dakshin sighed helplessly. He has deeply realized that the gap in strength between the 2 sides is too big and this matter cannot be blamed on him. At this time, the others, led by Demushin, also arrived in front of them and listened to Lin Lei's story. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. This is a bad situation. We must not let it eat Tang Seng's flesh. Nobita looked at Doraemon, who was worried. What will happen if he eats Tang Seng's flesh? Then his power will break through the limit set by the game console and there will be no upper limit. It will be basically impossible to defeat him at that time. What are you waiting for? Izuku immediately stood up. Let's rush over now and kill it now. He clearly remembered that knife. This was the most powerful attack Izuku had ever seen in his life. The hope of defeating the Bull Demon King was very slim. If he was allowed to become stronger, there would be no fun. Everyone started the bamboo dragonfly unanimously. According to Nobita's guidance, the group walked straight to the location of the flame mountain. Not long after, everyone saw the burning mountain and felt what it meant to be difficult to start. What should we do? In that case, we can't enter the palace at all. Fat Tiger looked at the volcano, full of despair. Zayashi remembered that it was Yu and Azzy who used his cloak to isolate the high temperature and led them there last time, but that guy was not there now. Doraemon waved his hand. Never mind that. Let's get closer to the volcano first and then talk about other things. The group gradually landed on the edge of the volcano. Zayashi, as usual, opened his mental power to guard the surroundings. At this moment, his mental power saw a middle-aged man lying on a rock not far away. He immediately used his mental power to carefully investigate, and the man was the missing Master Sanzang. Hey, everyone, follow me quickly. Master Sanzang has not been eaten yet. He is lying on the rock outside the flame mountain. This news was undoubtedly a shot in the arm. Unexpectedly, he was so lucky that Master Sanzang landed on the outside of the flame mountain. Everyone hurried to the rock and took Master Sanzang out from there so that he would not be unlucky and be swept into the flames. Looking at the people who were waking up Master Sanzang, Nobita felt a little strange. Why didn't the Bull Demon King take Master Sanzang away but let him stay outside the flames? Could it be that he couldn't get out of the flame mountain now? Just when he was wondering, Master Sanzang heard everyone's call and opened his eyes again. So everyone is here. Thank you so much. Sanzang sat up quickly and thanked everyone. At this moment, two bat monsters suddenly emerged from the ground, holding an unconscious Shizuka in their hands. Everyone happened to meet here, and everyone looked at each other's faces, and even the air suddenly became quiet. Because the speed of walking underground is much slower than the speed of flying in the sky, even slower than everyone's full speed, so they arrived at the same time now. After staring at each other for a few seconds, Nobita decisively swung the golden hoop to beat the two bat monsters into smoke and saved Shizuka. In this way, there is no need to worry about the Bull Demon King eating any of Master Sanzang and upgrading. Everyone finally put their minds at ease, looked at the castle on the top of the mountain, and began to think about how to enter this city surrounded by flames. If you want to go in and defeat the Bull Demon King, I have a way to take you in. Lin Lei walked to the front and led everyone to a small path that was not lit by the flames. They walked in unimpeded and arrived safely in front of the palace gate. Lin Lei also breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that his memory of this place was not wrong, and they arrived safely. The group looked at the door that was several stories high below and began to doubt whether they could push it open. Xiaofu, follow me. Fat Tiger and Xiaofu walked to the door and rolled up their sleeves. I don't believe that we can't push open a door after coming here. At this time, Chumushin suddenly shouted, don't go over there, there is a trap on the ground there. This was found by Yu and Dazi with his mental power when they came last time. In order to prove that he was right, Xiaofu found a stone and threw it over, successfully triggering the trap. The two stone slabs on the ground suddenly collapsed, revealing a huge pit, which scared Fat Tiger and the others. Fortunately, they didn't have time to go down, otherwise they would have fallen into this bottomless hole. The others looked at Xiaofu with strange eyes. Why did he know there was a hole here in advance? And Lin Lei was the same. He knew the traps here very well, but he didn't remind them of this last trap. Although it was strange, everyone temporarily ignored this problem. Anyway, it was in their favor now. Everyone bypassed this place and came to the front door. Fat Tiger and Xiaofu stood on one side and prepared to push the door. The weight of this stone door was terrifying. It was impossible for them to push it open from the outside with their strength. Xiaofu walked over. You four push the door on the right, and I will take care of the door on the left. Let's work together. Hearing his bland tone, Fat Tiger felt a little unhappy. Can you push one side by yourself? Chumushin walked to the front door and held the door with both hands. Whether I can push it open or not, you just need to try it and you will know, right? And I'm worried that you can't push the other door open. Compared with the four of them combined, who has greater strength, Yu and Azuki? This question is worth discussing. Unconvinced, Fat Tiger walked to another door. Well, let me see how powerful you are. Nobita, Sunia, and Doraemon also walked to the door, and together with Fat Tiger, the three of them slowly pushed the door panel on the right. Xiaofu used his powerful mental power to push open the door on the left by himself. The panoramic view of the palace appeared in front of them, which shocked everyone. It looked like a very tragic battle here. Looking at this scene, an ominous premonition lingered in his heart. Daisuke, didn't he come to challenge the Bull Demon King again yesterday? It turned out like this. At this time, many of the pillars standing around were broken, and many new cracks appeared on the ground, but there was no sign of that guy. His worries became heavier. Did he lose the fight yesterday and be eaten by the Bull Demon King? Chapter 397 Elite Bat Monster. The figure sitting on the throne saw someone coming, so he opened his eyes and looked at the people below. It was just a little short of completing the bat monster, and at this critical moment, someone broke in. And the most important thing is that there are actually 2 Tang Sanzangs below, all of whom came here intact. Are you guys here to send Master Sanzang to me? The Bull Demon King stimulated his demonic power to continue to catalyze the monsters while communicating with the people below to delay time. No, we came here today to take your life, Bull Demon King. Dakshin took his golden hoop and stood in front of everyone. Seeing this, the Bull Demon King smiled disdainfully. Just you? With your strength, I guess I can't kill me even if I sit and let you hit me. Okay, you said it. Dakshin took over the conversation, then swung his golden hoop and rushed towards it. The Bull Demon King was stunned for a moment. Why is this guy so shameless? The somersault cloud flashed and appeared under his feet, carrying him all the way to the head of the Bull Demon King. You damn monster, wait for me to beat you. As soon as the voice fell, the golden hoop hit the Bull Demon King's nose hard. But its nose just symbolically sank a little, indicating that the attack just now did hit it. Everyone present was quiet for a while, and they didn't expect this guy's defense to be so high. Among so many people, the one who was hit the most was Nobita. Then the Bull Demon King completely ignored Nobita and looked at Red Boy below. My son, do you want to stand on the opposite side of me? Son of the Bull Demon King? Everyone immediately turned their faces to Lin Lei, because among all the people, only he had an unknown origin. When Yu and Dazi pointed out his identity, except for Chumushin, no one else was there, so naturally everyone didn't know about it. Lin Lei nodded. Yes, I'm indeed the child of the Bull Demon King, but I have also sworn that I will go to the west with Master Sanzang. Seeing his firm attitude, the Bull Demon King no longer tried to persuade him, but slowly raised his hand. Very good, you have grown a lot in recent times. And you people have killed so many of my subordinates. Now it's your turn to pay for your lives. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became solemn. The Bull Demon King's momentum had enveloped the place invisibly, making everyone feel as if they were stuck in a quagmire, and every move required a lot of effort. The black bull that had been hanging above was suddenly torn apart, and dark claws emerged from the inside. Others felt a little uneasy. The monster inside seemed to be of a different level from the previous little monster. Soon, the shell that wrapped the monster was completely torn apart, and dozens of strong bat monsters opened their wings towards them. Chumushin immediately reminded everyone, be careful, this monster is not as easy to deal with as before. His mental power told him that the power of this monster was about 3 times that of an ordinary bat monster. Even if we follow the progress of the game, we have now reached the last level. Soldiers and the like are naturally more difficult than the previous levels, and will not be so easy to clear. Everyone immediately took out their weapons and entered a state of combat readiness, ready to fight these bats to the end. The bat monster in the sky let out a sharp cry and flapped its wings to fly towards the people below. Xiaoshan carried an gang and prepared to go over and kill some bat monsters first to relieve everyone's pressure. But when he raised his legs, he found that his movement seemed to have become much slower. This situation is exactly the same as the situation encountered last time with the somersault cloud. Faced with a bat monster that was much faster than him, he had to give up the opportunity to attack first. In the air, he adjusted his movements with the help of his mental power and barely avoided the first wave of attacks from the bat monster. And the others, like Izuki, felt the ubiquitous resistance, and their speed and strength dropped significantly. If this continues, the Bull Demon King will be able to wipe them out without doing anything himself. The situation on the front battlefield took a sharp turn for the worse. Izuki was dodging the bat swings that were comparable to steel, while thinking about countermeasures. What should we do? I remember that the last time we walked out of the hall, the resistance here disappeared. That's right, it's here. He thought of the key point and immediately turned to them and said, everyone, hurry up and leave the hall. There will be no restrictions after you go out. Let's get rid of these bat monsters first, and then deal with the Bull Demon King. After all, the Bull Demon King is an enemy who is good at strength. Even if his actions are blocked, he is sure that he can deal with the Bull Demon King for a while. The people who were suffocated by this invisible resistance immediately began to move towards the door. Everyone didn't walk far in the first place and ran out of this dilapidated palace in more than 10 seconds. The black bat wanted to continue chasing, but was stopped by the bull demon king behind him. Don't go out. As long as they are here, they dare not attack. It planned to give birth to another batch of bat monsters, so that the possibility of the opponent's attack being successful would be even lower, although that would make his demon power even lower. But he didn't care about these. As long as it was still alive, his strong body would be his greatest reliance. None of them could break through the defense and hurt him. The demonic power gradually surged, and dozens of dark eggs appeared on the pillars of the hall, and began to breed new demons. After everyone walked out of the hall safely, they all stood at the edge of the door, not daring to take a step forward, because there was a bottomless hole there, and they didn't know if they could come back alive if they fell in. Fat Tiger looked at the bull demon king unwillingly. What should we do? We have no chance of winning if this goes on. Yes, and the bull demon king was too lazy to move this time. It's too much. Nobita also looked at the demon shadow and sighed unwillingly. Okay, everyone is safe and sound. I don't know how Yu and Dazi is doing now. Zyadishan looked at the situation inside, trying to find the missing person among them. How am I? I must be doing well, otherwise what else can I do? A frivolous voice appeared behind them. It was Yu and Dazi who had been chasing them. Before, he had been relying on observing the marks as a guide, so he found this place without getting lost. The people in front all turned their heads to look at him. Seeing that this guy was still as energetic as before, they were relieved. Great, we all thought you died at the hands of the bull demon king. Nobita and Doraemon were even more relieved. If someone died because of them, they would be very sad. As for King Gyu, who had been following Dazi, he was taken to the sky by the cloak and now watched the live broadcast with the soul crystal ball. This is also to protect him. If he comes to the scene, his emotions may fluctuate greatly. Let's not talk about this for now. Why don't you go in? Is there any trap there? Everyone shook their heads and rushed to tell him what happened just now. At this time, there were many bats flying in the air, and one was making faces in front of them. Looking at this almost provocative behavior, Fat Tiger felt that his lungs were about to explode. You wait, I'm going to kill you now. Nobita and Sudia next to him hurriedly pulled him. Stop it, Fat Tiger, now is not the time to lose your temper. And as he looked inside and saw that there were about 20 bat monsters inside, which was not a lot. So he went over and pushed Fat Tiger away. Leave this thing to me. They are just a bunch of soldiers. Watch how I clean them up. Seeing him so confident, Fat Tiger also calmed down and stood aside waiting for his performance. Yu and Dazi, dressed in a white robe, walked in, put his hands together, and chanted the Buddha's name. The monk Sanzang outside immediately saluted him. Although he was a little young, a bodhisattva is a bodhisattva, and he must not lose his manners. Because it is a holiday, starting from tomorrow, a certain author will reluctantly enter the 3 update state, which will last for about 2 to 3 weeks. Thank you for your support. Chapter 398, Fight Again. After entering the hall, Yu and Dazi put his hands together and looked at the Bull Demon King. Amitabha, Bull Demon King, do you know which bodhisattva I am? Seeing him act so pretentiously, the Bull Demon King curled his lips in disdain. I don't care who you are. If you want to kill me, come and try. Then he looked at the bat demon next to him. Go, let this bodhisattva see what a monster is. The bat demons hovering in the air received the order, bared their teeth at Yu and Dazi on the ground, spread their wings, and pounced on him. The people outside were all worried, afraid that he would be torn in half by these monsters, and never see each other again. Although they believed in Yu and Dazi's strength, they were shrouded by the invisible aura, so it was good enough that they could only use half of their skills. Yu and Dazi waved his hand below, and a Gatling gun appeared in his hand. I'm Namo Gatling Bodhisattva. Do you want to listen to my Buddhist chant? As he spoke, he installed the special bullet strip. He pointed the gun at the bat demon. Namo Gatling Bodhisattva. 6 pure depleted uranium bullets. As he spoke, he pulled the trigger. 3,600 turns in one breath. Great compassion and great mercy to save the world. Bullet holes continued to appear on the bat demons, gradually turning them into sieves, ending their short lives. Nani? Where did he get the heavy weapons? The people behind him were stunned. This kind of thing is strictly controlled, no matter where it is. The Bull Demon King looked at this strange thing and his eyes widened involuntarily. What kind of magic weapon is this? But soon he had a headache again. The power of this thing is not strong. It can take a bath with these bullets, but those little goblins can't. The most important thing is that its firing rate is too fast and its size is very small. The impact of the surrounding space on it is almost negligible. The large number of bullets, small size, and fast speed are just the characteristics that its aura cannot defend. It took a few seconds to clean up the monsters, and Yu and Dazi pointed the gun at the things that were being bred. Anyway, it doesn't look like a good thing, and there are still some bullets left, so I might as well clean it up. The eggs on the stone pillar that were completely unable to move were also shot clean by him in a few seconds. After using up all the bullets, Yu and Dazi casually threw the Gatling gun aside and looked at the Bull Demon King sitting on the throne with a smile. How is it? My speed of saving people is not bad, right? It will be done in a few seconds. The people behind him were stunned by Yu and Dazi's operation. Didn't we agree to choose characters from Journey to the West and fight fairly? Why did you take out a Gatling gun casually without paying attention to the rules here? It's simply bullying. Oh, no, shouldn't the question now be, where did this Gatling gun come from? Chumashin looked at the Gatling gun on the ground and silently complained about Yu and Dazi's crazy actions in his heart. The Bull Demon King consumed a lot of demonic power, and all the eggs were shot down. He was also ridiculed like this, and he suddenly felt that he could no longer bear it. Picking up the knife that had severely injured Yu and Dazi, the Bull Demon King stood up from his throne. Now he also understood that this guy was their backbone, and killing him would be the end of the matter. Being stared at by such a huge figure, Yu and Dazi said that he was still under a lot of pressure. So he followed the plan he had prepared long ago and cast a spell on himself, ready to fight to the death with the Bull Demon King. He took off the white cloth on his head and tore it into strips, tied his sleeves tightly, and then his shoes. After moving his hands and feet to make sure that the loose robe would not affect his movements, Yu and Dazi looked up at the Bull Demon King who had walked in front of him. The big knife was placed in front of Yu and Dazi. Before you die, do you have anything to say? Yu and Dazi put his hands together and saluted it. I do have something to say. What I'm best at is physical salvation. As soon as the voice fell, the incomplete and delayed giantization spell he cast on himself finally took effect, and his body gradually swelled to the same height as the Bull Demon King under the effect of the spell. The Bull Demon King looked at the person who was on the same level as him, blinked his eyes, and felt a little confused. How could he suddenly become so big? The people behind him were also a little confused. What happened just now? Wasn't he the same size as himself? Yu and Dazi naturally would not miss this good opportunity. He stretched out his hand and punched the Bull Demon King in the stomach. Unrivaled power exploded in it, and one punch directly knocked it back to its throne. Countless cracks suddenly spread below, from the throne to the stone wall. How is it, did I lie to you, that I'm very good at physical salvation? Dakshin and the others behind him nodded frantically. He was indeed very good at it. Good, very good. The Bull Demon King suddenly laughed and threw his sword aside. My desire to fight has not been as high as it is today for a long time. He also moved his body. You have made me feel the pressure of life and death many times, so I will let you see my true power. Yu and Dazi was also on full alert. If your power had not declined to this extent, I really would not dare to fight you head on. The Bull Demon King's demonic power began to burn wildly, and his strength surged again. Don't pity me, if you have the ability, come on. As soon as the voice fell, Yu and Dazi's figure grew taller, and his muscles bulged. This was the effect of the third level strange power he added to himself. Don't worry, I never expected that a king like you would admit defeat obediently. After a few seconds of silence, both sides shouted and rushed towards each other at the same time. Every time the footsteps collided with the ground, the people behind them could clearly feel the ground shaking. When the fists of the two collided, the vibration alone caused the ground of the palace to crack. Chumashin, who was outside, quickly opened the barrier to prevent the flying debris from hurting people. At the same time, he shouted, "Everyone, leave here quickly, otherwise you may be accidentally injured." The others woke up from their dreams and quickly crossed the lava from the long bridge, intending to go outside to avoid the limelight. When the gods fight, mortals suffer. What's wrong with you today, Bull Demon King? You don't look as strong as you said. After a few rounds of fighting, Yu and Daz's fist landed heavily on the Bull Demon King's face, knocking out nearly half of its teeth, and blood splattered everywhere. It was also unwilling to be outdone, and turned around, and punched Yu and Daz in the face with all its strength. After being hit by the opponent's fist, blood also overflowed from the corner of his mouth, but his teeth were finally saved. Then Yu and Daz stretched out his hand, grabbed the cow hoof on his face, and said in a slightly distorted voice, "It seems that you are really old, and don't even have the strength to hit people." After that, he punched the Bull Demon King in the face again, knocking out his teeth on the other side. Pooh. The Bull Demon King still refused to admit defeat and spat a mouthful of bloody saliva on Yu and Daz's face. "Now my strength is only 1/3. If I were in my prime, I would not take people of your level seriously at all." Yu and Daz retracted his hand from his face and punched him in the stomach with a physical technique. This time, the power from the outside world finally penetrated its thick surface and the layers of protection of demonic power, and acted on its internal organs. A mouthful of blood rushed to his throat, but was swallowed by the Bull Demon King. He must not show weakness in front of others. Of course I know that, if it were your prime now, I would definitely not be able to beat you. Yu and Daz grabbed his hand with one hand, and twisted the joints on his hand with force. But unfortunately, there are no ifs in this world. With a scream, he threw the Bull Demon King to the ground with an over-the-shoulder throw. The ground of the palace cracked again, and this time the vibration directly shook the foundation of the entire volcano, as if the eternal palace began to crumble. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399, Lin Lei's Destination. The people outside felt the ground shaking, and all looked down, only to find that cracks had appeared in the foundation under the palace. "Dazzy, stop fighting. If you keep fighting, this palace will be lost." Chumushin shouted anxiously at the door. This matter concerns the safety of everyone's life. But Yu and Daz had no intention of stopping, and his fists fell on the face of the Bull Demon King like raindrops. Now he had to do this, maintaining 2 spells at the same time, and the speed of magic consumption was simply breaking through the sky. After all, this giant magic and the 3rd level giant force spell all consume magic according to the current situation. After the 2 are superimposed, he is also very unbearable. If it is only the 3rd level giant force spell, he can maintain it for several hours. But if these 2 magics are used at the same time, the battle time will be shortened to about 10 minutes. After a few minutes, the Bull Demon King was beaten, confused by him, and basically lost the ability to resist. Then Yu and Daz took out the Dark Blade, ready to use this sword to completely end the Bull Demon King's sins. This is not only to eradicate the roots, but also to avenge Lanshu, the Killin. After all, he is also the benefactor of Yu and Daz. He gave him so many things, and gave his child to him before he died. He can't live up to his trust. King Gaiu was also watching from above, and he clenched his fists involuntarily. He also wanted the murderer who killed his father to be punished. When the consciousness of the fragments of this world is awakened by the Bull Demon King, the Killin will have to fight with it. Anyway, sooner or later it will be found by the world, and rejected and erased. It is better to find a way to kill the Bull Demon King and let the world fall asleep again. But unfortunately, Lanshu failed and left King Gaiu in this world. In the mirror image in the crystal ball, when Yu and Daz was about to insert the Dark Blade into the Bull Demon King's neck, a small figure blocked him. Lin Lei suddenly appeared and blocked his sword. "Although I know it's abrupt to say this, please spare my father's life. If possible, please use my life in exchange for my father's safety." Yu and Daz put the tip of the sword against his forehead. "Aren't you afraid that I will kill you all?" Lin Lei ignored Yu and Daz's threat and continued to look into his eyes. Seeing him like this, Yu and Daz had to raise his sword a little higher. "Is it worth it? Looking at the current situation, your parents should not love you very much. Why give up your life for them?" Lin Lei buried his head deeply and kowtowed to the front. "Although they are not good to me, he is my father after all. I can't watch him die in front of me." before he dies, at least let me leave with him. Seeing him like this, Yu and Dazi sighed helplessly and lifted the magic on his body. He really couldn't do anything to a child who defended his parents, so this time he could only agree to him. Then he turned around and shouted, "Doraemon, bring your game console here and take this guy back for me." Lin Lei also relaxed. Although he had to face the pain of being imprisoned, it was better than losing his life directly. Xiaoshan outside watched the whole process with a smile on his face. He was very happy to see Yu and Dazi choose this way. When the blue fat man came in happily, he turned on his hero game console. But he soon got into trouble. The Bull Demon King was too big and couldn't fit in. "Humph, do you want my life? You are dreaming." The Bull Demon King suddenly roared, "I'm the king. I can die in battle, but I will not accept imprisonment." After that, the Bull Demon King's fist fell hard, completely shattering the ground of this palace. The fragments of the rock fell into the volcano, and the stimulated magma slowly rose, trying to completely engulf this place. "Damn guy, everyone, leave quickly." The ground suddenly shook again, and this place was about to collapse. "Don't worry, I have a magic weapon that can be used." Doraemon's IQ went online, and he quickly took out the anywhere door from his pocket and told Dad to hurry out. The 8 people walked out of the anywhere door one by one, and the magma had already spread to the ground, and the anywhere door was closed. We are finally out." Doraemon looked back at everyone. "Is everyone okay?" Izuku looked around. Nobita, Fat Tiger, Sunia, Shizuka, Doraemon, Gian, Deiji, Tang Sanzang, himself, and Lin Lei were all there. Where was Lin Lei? "Why don't you leave?" The Bull Demon King lay on the ground, looking at the red boy next to him. "If you leave now, they won't make things difficult for you." Lin Lei sat next to the Bull Demon King's head, leaning against his father's head and said, "No matter what, you are my father. I can't watch you die. In the last moment of your life, I will accompany you." Little fool. The Bull Demon King stretched out his hand and rubbed Lin Lei's hair. "You are a good boy. Maybe I was too harsh on you before." The magma has spread to his body, and the Bull Demon King seemed not to notice, allowing the magma to swallow him. Everyone wanted to go in to save people, but there was a vibration inside the crater, and the palace inside was completely destroyed. Then there was a loud noise, and the volcano was about to erupt, destroying the evidence of its existence. Yu and Dazi shook his head secretly. This time, Red Boy was doomed. Now the Dark Star Cloak was not on him, and there was no way to save people. The Dark Star Cloak in the sky quickly entered the invisible state and took King Gaiu away from the dangerous area. Although it is sure that King Gaiu will be fine, it is better to do less things like this that will waste his strength. Everyone outside is watching the volcano erupting, and there is always an indescribable depression in their hearts. Did Lin Lei die in the end? Doraemon, have we completed our mission? Nobita looked at the blue fat man in a low voice. Tang Sanzang looked at the volcano erupting, and there was some reluctance in his eyes. "Buddha, can you really not save Lin Lei?" And as he shook his head, "Under the current circumstances, no one can save Lin Lei." A BTL suddenly streaked across the sky in the distance, flying straight to where they were. And as he was startled, and quickly used his mental power to check the situation there. Lin Lei. How can he fly? No, he was thrown out by someone. And as he quickly used his magic to catch Lin Lei in the air, Tang Sanzang walked over and reached out to catch him. Now it seems that Lin Lei has fallen into a coma, which may be done by the Bull Demon King. And as he frowned slightly, now Lin Lei's demon power was extremely strong. Bull Demon King seemed to have passed on his power to him. Well, the event is finally complete. Everyone cheered as they watched Lin Lei return. Finally, there was no sacrifice. Doraemon nodded. Yes, everyone did a great job this time. Now let's go back quickly. Just as he was about to take out the time machine to take everyone back, the blue fat man suddenly saw Lin Lei next to Master Sanzang. So he took out the game console again. Wait a minute, there is another monster that needs to be recycled. Although Red Boy doesn't look like a bad guy, if he eats Master Sanzang in the future, then they will be in vain. After completing the task, it will not be just Bull Demon King who can break through the limitations of the game console. At that time, Red Boy can completely create a new monster empire, so the future will not change. Xiaoshin and Dazi kept looking at Master Sanzang, wanting to see how he would choose this time. Now it seems that he is the only one who will choose to protect Lin Lei. Just as Doraemon opened the safety cover, Master Sanzang finally couldn't help it and stood in front of Lin Lei. "Sorry, I said I would take him to the west to obtain the scriptures. I can't break my promise." Seeing this, Demishin and Yu and Dazi immediately communicated with each other through their mental power, and finally they reached a very consistent opinion. The blue fat man shook his head. "This is not okay, for everyone's future. What are you doing?" Yu and Dazi chopped off the hero game console with a sword, making it impossible for Doraemon to recycle. The blue fat man yelled at him angrily, "This prop is very expensive. Also, if the future still doesn't change, then what's the point of us coming here?" Yu and Dazi slowly retracted the dark blade. "This time I'm willing to trust Lin Lei and Master Sanzang, so I want to give him a chance." Chumashin also nodded. "If the future really doesn't change, we will come back to deal with this mistake." Others also persuaded Doraemon, "Just trust Lin Lei this time. If the future doesn't change, we are willing to bear the consequences together with him." Seeing that they were so determined, Doraemon had to agree to this matter. There was no way he couldn't beat them, and the other party would not give him time to get the props and cancel the safety agreement, so he could only agree. Chapter 400. Everything is the same. The hero game console was destroyed, and everyone's equipment gradually returned to their original state and turned back into their own clothes. Master Sanzang stepped forward, clasped his hands together and saluted everyone. "Leave Lin Lei to me in the future. I will definitely guide him to the right path." Doraemon nodded. "Okay, everything about him is up to you." Everyone watched Master Sanzang and Lin Lei leave, witnessing the end of this incident. But they were very unhappy because their character experience cards also expired at this moment. Really, I suddenly feel that being ZHUBG is not bad, and I want to be it for a while longer. Fat Tiger kicked the stone at his feet to express his inner dissatisfaction. Although it is a little weak, it still has some superpowers. Nobita looked at his empty hands and felt helpless. His golden hoop was gone. Seeing their lost expressions, the blue fat man smiled. "Okay, it's been so long. It's time to go back." Then he took out the time machine from his pocket and opened the time tunnel here. Nobita and his friends got on the time machine. When it was Yu and Daz's turn, he suddenly hesitated. "It depends on the situation. This time machine has reached its load-bearing limit, but I still have King Gaiu here." So he raised his hand and cast a magic power, which landed on the Dark Star Cloak to convey the message. "Take King Gaiu back with you, and we can meet directly in our house when the time comes." After giving the order, Yu and Dazi got on the time machine under everyone's impatient urging. After everyone entered the time tunnel, the Dark Star Cloak lifted the invisible state and began to take him away from here at a high speed. In order to continuously complete themselves, the fragments of the world will devour each other. This time, the main world's representatives Nobita and others won the battle, so the fragments here are finished. In other words, if they don't leave quickly, they will be swallowed by the main world together with this fragment, and it should be used to fill in some missing maps. In addition, they have to cross the chaotic space barrier, and they can't use teleportation to go back directly, so they can only rely on the ultra high speed navigation of the Dark Star Cloak. The darkness completely swallowed the cloak and King Gaiu inside, and then they appeared at the edge of the world. This time they directly crossed thousands of kilometers and consumed all the magic power given by Yu and Dazhi. Then it turned into a shuttle shape and rushed into the space barrier in the distance without hesitation. The group returned to the main world safely through the time and space tunnel, and the time machine stopped in the original drawer. Lisa and Ayu sat outside, constantly looking at the magic stone fragments, while Shizuka was responsible for vigilance. Soon after, the black clouds in the sky dissipated, and the bats that wandered outside from time to time also disappeared. Seeing this situation, they also understood that the expedition over there was victorious. Before they had time to be happy, they heard movement from the drawer, so they hurriedly jumped out of the window. Because they didn't tell anyone, in order to avoid trouble, they just disappeared directly. The group walked out of the drawer, and everyone felt that the demonic aura in the air seemed to have disappeared. Yu and Dazhi and Emushan opened their mental power to perceive the surroundings, and indeed no one had the characteristics of a demon. However, they did have an unexpected discovery, that is, Lizanayu and Shizuka were squatting in the bushes below. Great, let's go home. Just as everyone was about to leave, footsteps suddenly came from the stairs outside, and everyone's hearts were instantly hanging. What does Nobita's mother look like now? Is she the same as before, or has she turned into a monster? Is everything they did useful? Nobita, it's so late now, where did you go just now? Nobita's mother went to the second floor, opened the door, and prepared to scold Nobita, who made her worried. But when she opened the door, she found that most of Nobita's classmates were here, which made her have to take back the words that were on her lips. In front of classmates, Nobita's mother usually gave him some face so that he would not be laughed at. Everyone looked at the mother outside the door nervously. This time, there were no horns on her head, and her eyes became very kind. Seeing that his mother finally came back, Nobita immediately threw himself into his mother's arms. Mom, it's great, you are finally back. Nobita wiped his tears and spoke with a crying tone. What's wrong with you? Why are you crying suddenly? Did someone bully you? Tell your mother. She also put down her inner anger and gently touched Nobita's head, her eyes full of love. Others didn't want to disturb him, so they left the room under the leadership of Doraemon. Everyone should go back early. Doraemon waved at the door and said goodbye to them. Others also ran home, ready to hug their mothers. After Dekisugi and Yu and Dazi left Nobita's house, they called out the two people in the bushes. He had a guess that he wanted to confirm. I have a question for you. How long have you two been waiting for us here? Lizanayu looked at the time. 2 hours. There were indeed several waves of monsters during this period, but we fought them off. 2 hours? Dekisugi was a little unbelievable, but we stayed there for almost a day. Yu and as he calculated that the flow rate of the fragments of the two worlds was indeed 1 to 10. No wonder their watches were more than 10 minutes faster before. Then he looked up and suggested, okay, don't dwell on this problem. We've returned victorious, let's go out and celebrate. Lizanayu and Shizuka also nodded. Yeah, why don't we go to the ramen shop on the street? We know a ramen shop that tastes pretty good. 10 minutes later, everyone appeared in that familiar shop. Yu and Daz's mouth twitched. Haha, I knew that so-called shop that tastes pretty good. The hand-typed uncle was still warmly entertaining the guests and served them a bowl of hot ramen. While eating, everyone talked about what happened in that world fragment, and Yu and Dazi did not reveal his whereabouts. Yu and Dazi received a message from the cloak when he was only halfway through the noodles. They had arrived, so he finished the noodles in 2 or 3 bites, apologized to the others, and left here quickly. Shizuka was a little puzzled. Why did this guy suddenly go crazy? Chumashin also nodded in agreement. I don't know, but I always feel that he seems to be hiding something from me these days. Yu and Dazi returned to the room, and Kingai, had been waiting inside for a while. Seeing him back, Kingai finally breathed a sigh of relief. Great, I thought you were going to leave me there. He went over and touched Kingai's head. Don't worry, I promised your father to take care of you. Then Yu and Dazi communicated with the soul-devouring monument. How is it? Is there any problem with the operation of the magic pattern? Don't worry, when will the quality of the things I give you have problems? Yu and Dazi nodded, and the next thing he felt was a difficult matter. What should I do to get Chumashin to accept this? It's really a headache. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.